Welcome back to another episode number 104 of the so-called Sports Analyst. Josh, it's playoff basketball. How are you doing?
Well, with that being said, I'm doing amazing because we've already saw one matchup earlier today. That was the Bucks versus Pacers. I know we're a little late to the game with our playoff prediction episode, but
Mhm.
right now we're watching this very good Clippers versus Nuggets game that's coming down to the wire. So it's already turning out to be a great playoffs, like in two games already. So I'm pretty excited to what we're about to see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And also, we're a little bit later because we're more accurate with this stuff. We want to take our times and be thorough with these predictions right here. That's the main reason for it. But like you were saying with this Pacers and Bucks game right here, I know this first game happened and the Pacers they won 117-98 right here, but overall, who do you think is winning this series? And like, just kind of give your ideas from just looking at this series outside in.
Well, for me, what I was trying to identify for the Pacers coming into this game was how are they going to utilize the mismatches that Miles Turner presents to the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think there's going to be a little bit of adjustments going into game two, but we saw it easily exploited in game one, and that was Miles Turner off the pick and pop. Miles Turner is a very great catch and shoot 3-point shooter, and basically over 40% on the season when it comes to catch and shoot shots. And even within the arc, from the mid range, he's
Yeah.
actually pretty lethal from that also. And we saw them attack that quite a bit in this game, in game one
Mhm.
especially. And Miles Turner really was a mismatch for the Milwaukee Bucks, only having Giannis. Because what they would do, Giannis would be guarding Miles Turner, and then they would do a switch, and the Miles Turner would follow the smaller guard, pick and pop. The other guy
Mhm.
collapses on the other way. Miles Turner wide open shot. And
Yeah.
even on other players on this team, like an Andrew Nembhard, we saw him kind of step up to the plate in this game and really get the Pacers going early on. I believe he had 10 points in the first quarter alone. So the Pacers throughout this entirety of the game really took control. And I don't expect this to carry on the majority of the series. I do think the
Mhm.
Pacers will win in seven, and especially since Damian Lillard will be coming back in game
Mhm.
two or game three. But also the question mark for me is how healthy is Damian Lillard? Where is his
Yeah.
fitness at? Where is he at aerobically when it comes to playing an entire 48 minutes of basketball? Because he's going to have to play some minutes. Because what we saw from this first game,
Yeah.
they need him badly, especially to spread out play five out, have instead of playing this downhill Giannis drives and whoever's open
Mhm.
on the outside he kicks out and hoping that they get
Mhm.
an open three. That's just not a recipe for wins, I think, versus a team like the Indiana Pacers, who's great in transition, great in moving the ball, great in pace. Anyone on that team is really a liable threat from the three, and I think it's just hard to play with Giannis trying to play hero ball game in and game out. And having Damian Lillard would definitely open up a lot of things for a bunch of different players, some like Gary Trent Jr., Bobby
Mhm.
Portis, and
Yeah.
a couple other guys like that. Even Kevin Porter Jr. wouldn't have to have such a role when it comes to off the bench. He
Mhm.
would have to basically come into like an already steady offense, already steady flow. But as we saw in this first game, it was really hard for the Bucks to get anything going.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. And I just think that this game, it wasn't necessarily an anomaly. I'm not going to say that because the Pacers, they've been one of the best teams since January 1st, the best net rating and the best offense since January 1st. So I'm not taking any of that away. But I just don't see another time where the Bucks are going to go 9 for 37 from three and the Pacers are going to shoot damn near 40% from three. I don't think there's going to be that big of a swing factor. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be more even. They're both probably going to shoot 34, 35%. And also another thing, I think that Tyrese Halliburton not having 20 plus points in this game, I'm going to bring that up a lot right here. As far as him not having 20 plus points, him not being aggressive, and they still pretty much controlled this game the entire time, it's saying something about the Indiana Pacers because I have two stats here for Tyrese Halliburton. I told you this first one. So Tyrese Halliburton, if he makes his first shot, he averages 5 more shot attempts per game compared to if he misses his first shot. And every time Tyrese Halliburton scores 20 points, they are 25-3 this year. So that's damn near like 70 win pace. That's perfect, damn near perfect basketball right there. But like you're saying, Damian Lillard, that's the biggest X factor. But I think Giannis, he's developed as a passer this year. I'll say that. And okay, I think as far as how he's been playing like these past 7, 8 games in the regular season, it was like a Luka Doncic is esque because he was able to get the ball out to the corner. He was averaging like 32, 12, and 12, something like that. In this game, they made him just a pure scorer. And
Hmm.
with Damian Lillard, when he's back, like you're saying, you can't just make him become a pure scorer because you have Damian Lillard right there. And then he'll get more one-on-one opportunities, then he'll really kill you. And another thing is the zone that they started to play in the second half, you saw it be a little bit successful. So I think they're going to do that in the second game. And I think that I know you have Pacers in 7, but I'm going to still stick with it. I'm going to go Bucks in 7 here just because they have the best player and Damian Lillard's coming back. I just don't think there's any point in time in a game in this series where I could say the Pacers have the better player. They may have the better 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They might have those, but I think it just matters as far as having the best player on the planet. So
I
good.
get where you're coming from in that
Hmm.
standpoint, picking the star, and you kind
Yeah.
of took that same mantra when it came to Trey Young in the play and who's going to make the
Yeah.
bigger play, and we saw that versus the Heat, and he kind of
Yeah.
took them to the end, but it ultimately ended in a loss,
Hmm.
relying on one guy, and I think that's where the Bucks are at right now. Over this course of the season, the Indiana
Hmm.
Pacers are third in assists and third
Yeah.
in field goal percentage, so they're
Hmm.
always constantly moving the ball, finding the open shot, and whoever's open is taking the shot. It's not a selfish type of play,
Yeah.
not a selfish type of do the this. Oh, sorry, I'm paying attention to this game.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. No, this game's good. Yeah. You're
but
good.
with that, the Pacers being third in assists and third in field goal percentage, I think that's a lot to take on, especially for a team like the Milwaukee Bucks. You know, they
Hmm.
kind of, and even with that, the Indiana Pacers are also top 6 when it
Yeah.
comes to rebounding the basketball. So they're also up there in all the upper echelon when it comes to creating better opportunities and second chance points. And I just think that's where the separator is for me. I understand they don't have that go-to playmaker, but
Hmm.
Pascal Siakam in this game, dropping, I
Yeah.
believe, 25 points. He did
Yeah.
his job. Andrew Nembhard doing his job. And we even saw this last year where I understand Giannis was out for the series. Damian Lillard only played 3 games, and it really came down to only the Pacers just having more bodies out there. But I just think that's what it is this year again. There's just more bodies when it comes to deeper into the roster that can shoot the
Hmm.
basketball, who play less selfish basketball. Because even if you look at the players that the Bucks do have, Kyle Kuzma had to change his game from being an
Yeah.
on-ball player to actually a catch and shoot shooter. And in this
Hmm.
game, it just didn't work out for them. And
Yeah.
especially in this one, Gary Trent Jr. was nowhere to be seen. AJ Green didn't start coming alive to the fourth quarter, which I understand some of those guys will play a lot better
Hmm.
earlier in the game in these next couple of games as they adjust. But I just think the way that the Indiana Pacers move the ball and play unselfish basketball, especially led by Tyrese Halliburton, who's one of the most unselfish stars in the entire NBA. And like you said, he hasn't scored over 20 points. He didn't score over 20 points in this
Hmm.
game, and they still dominated. So he still
Yeah.
hasn't even reached what he can fully do.
Yeah, I agree with you as far as that. And they have 5 guys who are shooting 38% from 3 and 7 guys who average 10 plus points a game. So everything like you're saying right there. But I think, yes, I went with the star in the play-in, but also it's a little bit different comparing a 1 game sample size to a 7 game series. You could have way more of an effect on a 7 game series. And I just think if if Damian Lillard wasn't coming back, I would say the Pacers are winning this. I would say that for sure. But I think the Pacers are going to go up 2-0 too, honestly. I think Indy's going to win at home, Milwaukee's going to win at home, and then the game 7, that's when I have Giannis. That's when I have Giannis taking over. So that's how I have it going. So if you had to like guess how these games are going to go, do you think Indy wins the next game? Because you said Indy in 7,
I
right?
think
Indy in
Indians
7?
Yeah, I have Indy in
Okay.
7. I want to lean towards 6 a little bit more now. I convinced myself with this argument, but I'm gonna stick with
Hmm.
7. I do respect Giannis that can go nuclear anytime he wants
Hmm.
to, especially with Damian Lillard coming
Hmm.
back. I'm coming back with the opinion that, ooh, what happened to Chris Dunn?
He got
Did
hit
he just
in
get
the
popped?
face.
He just got popped. All right, but
Yeah.
I'm just coming in with the monster that I just think that with the thought that Damian Lillard is going to be Damian Lillard, not just some lesser version of himself coming back from injury. And I
Hmm.
do give them Game 7, but where I'm at with this, I think the Pacers win all the games at home, and
Hmm.
they would play in Milwaukee for Game 7, and I do think they walk away in Milwaukee. So I think they win 3 games, at least 1 game on the road in Milwaukee, and that 1 game on the road is going to happen in Milwaukee after they go two games in Indiana, lose 2 games in Milwaukee, 1 game in Indiana, and then back and win in Milwaukee for the final game. And
Okay.
that's where I'm sticking with. I just think, and even if you look at last year's series, these guys were a lot younger, the Indiana Pacers, with
Yeah.
Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nimhart, and even last year they were missing Benedict Mathurin. So
Yeah.
there's also another scorer added to this team to play them, and they dominate the Bucks all season, every single time that they play.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. But I just think another factor that I'm going to bring in here, like you were saying with Miles Turner, I think it's going to be Brook Lopez as well. As far as, or I'll put it like this: whichever big man can shoot the three better is going to drastically change the landscape of each game, a game by game basis. I really think that. Oh, my bad. I got distracted by this game too. All right, let me focus in on this because I know I'm a little bit ahead.
Where are you at right now, time wise?
40 seconds left.
Damn, bro, I'm like 15 seconds behind.
You're 15 seconds behind.
Yeah, I'm barely at 50 seconds right now.
Okay. let me look
Dude,
straight. Let me not look at
Russ
this.
is hustling right now, bro.
Yeah, no, Russ, he's had a damn good game so far. But I just think, yeah, whichever big man can shoot the better three is going to impact this game drastically. And I just think that if Brook Lopez has a great day, then the Bucks are going to end up winning. If Miles Turner has a good day, the
I just turned the ball
Pacers.
over.
Yeah, he did. He sure did turn the ball over. That's why I'm like, let me just look straight. Let me just look straight at the camera. Let me be looking
The
this
Knicks
way.
play after this one, Knicks and Pistons.
But at least it will be the first
same
quarter.
wavelength at that one. Hopefully, we're on the same.
But at least it'll be the first quarter. It won't be nothing. It won't be nothing different. So as of right now, it's fourth quarter. Clippers, Nuggets, first game right now. So that's why we're talking about this. But any more takeaways? Oh yeah. Also, one more thing I want to say. Giannis, them limiting Giannis to 1 assist is a great way to start off. Is a very great way to start off. I don't know if that's going to be consistent there, because at the end of the day, if you let Giannis keep going, it could potentially get ugly where he could drop 50, 60 points on you and you can't control it. But I think that that's something to look out for too. If you just let Giannis continue to be a scorer, because you see this with guys like SGA, they want him to be a scorer. Ant, they want him to be a scorer. Jokic, they want him to be a scorer without getting the team involved. But at some point, it could kind of backfire on you. So I think that's an interesting point to look for in this series. But anything else?
No, I think we covered all bases that we can right now, considering what we were able to see in game one.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, let me flip to my notes for this game that
now
we were
I know
talking
we're about
about.
to get into probably the biggest argument we're going to have.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest
well,
argument.
I don't know where you're at. I don't know where the score's at on your end.
Well, okay. Okay, next. Let me just go ahead and transition over. All right, next we're going into the Clippers versus the Nuggets right now. I know game 1 is going on right now, but just what have you seen so far through 3.5 quarters from this game? What are you thinking about this game and how this series is going to turn out?
Well, for me, for starters, in this, I'm gonna just go into what I've seen from this game. I saw domination early on from the Los Angeles Clippers. We saw them basically scoring at will whenever they wanted, but it seems like their effort dropped off quite a bit, and they should have been up by a lot more in the first half if James Harden made some easy layups and easy looks that he was getting. And then early on, Kawhi and James Harden both got into foul trouble, so it kind of held them back a little bit more. And Ivica Zubac was doing very well against Nikola Jokic, but as we saw, the Nuggets went on a couple runs, some 10-0 runs, 13-2 runs that kept them in the game, and they just capitalized on that going into the second half. They've been able to kind of keep the Clippers within arm's length, and then when it came into this fourth quarter, they really overtook the lead. They overtook the lead from Los Angeles Clippers, and I think it just comes down to effort. I think what we were seeing from the Clippers early on is what they can be, but then they started getting too comfortable, and that's when the Nuggets capitalized as, let's just say, a championship team. They have some experience around that, especially with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, and they've been able to get other guys open, get other shots, especially with Aaron Gordon. And I just feel like the Clippers kind of fell off the pace a little bit that they had early on, especially from James Harden.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that was the biggest thing, James Harden getting in foul trouble. That's what's impacted this game so far. And also I think that the Denver defense is showing something they haven't. Well, they showed it the last 3 games of the year, but they're showing it in this game right here. As of right now, the score is 96-95 right now. So I can't talk about what's going to happen in 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 7.
Well, should we just react to this? Oh, hold on. No, don't react.
Oh, I'll let you see it. Yeah, let's just react to this. What are you on right now?
28 seconds, 27 seconds, 20.
Just
Russell
watch.
Westbrook made a three. No way, bro.
Yes, I know, bro.
Whose man's is this, bro? They call a timeout right away.
Yeah, they called a timeout right away. Oh my goodness. Or you know what? You know what I'm gonna do? Okay, you're on 23.4 seconds, right? A timeout.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I rewinded it back, so we're kind of on the same. Are you watching the
Okay.
replay of Russell Westbrook or
Yeah,
Jamal Murray's dribbling the ball? And
right
then
now, Jamal Murray just got the ball.
I'm still a little bit behind you.
Russ is shooting it right now.
Did he just make it?
Yeah.
Okay. I paused it where we're kind of on the same length. It's not live for me no more. I could have just done that the entire time.
Yeah.
But nah, it's good. All right.
I can't believe. Should we just wait till the end of the?
Yeah,
Well,
I say let's just wait. So as of
Okay.
right now, score is 98-96. I think the last time we did a live reaction was
a long time. Last playoffs.
Was it Mavs? Was it Mavs and Wolves game 4? No. I know it was one of the Western Conference games.
I thought it was one of the championship games.
Was it? You know what? It was. It was game 1 or game 2. It was something like that. But I don't think this game was as good as this. Okay, are the Clippers on the floor now? Or where are you at?
Jamal Murray's talking to the coach right now. And now they just went to the baseline. The ref is getting them situated.
Okay. Is the
He
ball
just
about
gave-
to be passed in?
He just gave the ball to Nicholas Batum. Harden has it
Okay.
now.
Okay, yeah, we're on the same. Ooh.
James Harden!
Ooh, James Harden. James Harden.
Dude, another timeout.
Okay.
Can we just play the game? Can we just play the game, bro?
James Harden and Russell Westbrook, the two guys who are stepping up in the playoffs right now, something you don't expect. No disrespect, but that floater was nasty.
Dude, he was getting better looks in the first quarter, bro. I don't know what's going on.
But see, I think this is a good thing right here that we're seeing from the Nuggets. They're showing a sign of being able to play high level defense in the playoffs.
Yeah, but can they do this game in and game out? Can they guard? Do you think they can guard heavily like this game in and game out for a 7-game series?
But now let me flip it to you on this. Do you think that the Clippers can guard the Nuggets this well for another 4 or 5 games?
I do, because I think they were doing this. They were a top 5 defensive team in the entire NBA for the entire.
Nuggets were the best offense, one of the best.
But hear me out. I know the Clippers, based off the whole season rank, all of season rank, were the 15th best defense in the entire NBA.
I've seen that since March 5th.
Over the last 21 games, they're the number one offense in the entire NBA.
I've heard all of that, yeah.
They're the number one offense in the entire NBA since Kawhi Leonard has come back.
Yeah. No, I get that. All right, okay, cool. Let's watch this last 18.7. So, okay, this is clearly, I think, a Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic pick and roll, and
nah, it's gonna be Christian Braun.
I think they're not gonna get into a real set to like 10 seconds.
They're not gonna let him. They're just gonna let him shoot. Don't foul, Chris Dunn. Don't foul. Oh, ooh,
what?
Russell Westbrook. Russ.
What are you doing? Oh my goodness, Russ.
He was trying to draw the foul.
Russ. Oh my goodness, Russ. Okay, we're in the overtime.
All right, now let's just talk about this series real quick. Now that they're going into OT. All right.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going to take the Clippers in 5. I think the Clippers, what they have been able to do, they're a top 5 defense in the entire NBA, consistently game in, game out all season, even while missing Kawhi Leonard for a lot of the season. And then even, like we just said, over the course of March, of the past 21 games, they have been the number 1 offense in the entire NBA, led by James Harden. And over the last 5 games of the season, he averaged 29 points, 11 assists, and nearly 8 rebounds. That's vintage James Harden. He's at his best right now and shooting 47% from the 3. I think I understand that the Clippers, they have Nikola Jokic, and Jamal Murray. And Jamal Murray has stepped up to the plate. We expected playoff Jamal Murray to come into full fold. But I just think what the Clippers have to offer depth-wise as compared, especially when it comes to guys playing their roles and scorers, and especially defensively, they have the better defenders from top to bottom, especially with Derek Jones, Norman Powell, Chris Dunn, all these guys that can guard on the perimeter and kind of switch off to different players like Christian Braun and even Jamal Murray and kind of rotate on these guys so they can conserve some energy. I think they just have a deeper roster. And then if we look at the wing players, I think Nicholas Batum, I know at old age, he's still a good defender, still a great spot-up shooter. And then if we look at Kawhi Leonard and James Harden, I just don't think that the Nuggets have a consistent option to guard Kawhi Leonard and James Harden game in and game out. I know there's not an option ever for Nikola Jokic, but if there's a better player all-time statistically than Ivica Zubac at guarding Nikola Jokic, I want you to find me one, because there isn't. And And then even that, what I've been noticing is they allow Ivica Zubac to kind of roam around, put a smaller guard on Nikola Jokic, and then he rotates for the help. So it's also, they're playing some kind of mismatched basketball right now. And I think the Clippers will capitalize game in and game out. And honestly, I think they're going to win in 5 games.
So I'm completely on the opposite side of the spectrum here. This is 2 games right here. Or I guess there's consistency in what I'm looking for in a playoff series. I'm looking for the best player. And
Dude,
I don't think
doing?
I don't know what Russ was doing. And I just think that there is a gap as far as depth-wise. I will give you that for sure. And there's more consistent play. Like, you don't know what you're going to get from even Jamal Murray. He has 19 points right now. Aaron Gordon, he's really been that number 2. Michael Porter, he hasn't been as aggressive. Christian Braun, you don't know. Russell Westbrook, you definitely don't know what you're going to get from him. But I just think that having the best player in the planet, let alone in the series, is going to do wonders for you. And I just think he's the main catalyst right now. Like, just look at what he's doing, 27, 11, and 9 right now. And I think this is a good sign of them being able to play defense to this level, because it's showing that their offense, they could find a way to get going. I'm not worried about the Nuggets offense in all honesty. I think that they're going to find a way to get going because you have the best player, Jamal Murray. He's going to have a couple games where he looks like he has 30, 40 points. The biggest concern for me is David Adelman. And as of game 1 right now, the in-game adjustments, I feel like Tyronn Lue is one. Great. Yeah. I feel like Tyronn Lue, he's one of the best as far as in-game adjustments.
Take that right now. He cannot get rolled up on.
Yeah, sorry, I saw that right there.
I'm interrupting you, but like he almost got.
No, you're good. You're good. Okay, Aaron Gordon.
Ooh, Aaron Gordon.
Dunk?
Hey, we're on the same spot now, so that's good.
Okay, yeah.
We're on the same spot. Hopefully commercials don't screw us over.
Okay, also, I want to look at this. The guys that are on the court right now. So Christian Braun, Jamal Murray, Russell Westbrook, Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon. Michael Porter, he isn't even in the lineup right now. So I think that's saying something right there. And then compared to the Clippers, you have Kawhi, Chris Dunn, James Harden, Zubac, and Norman Powell. Do you think that we're going to rush for 3?
Dude, he got confident.
Yeah,
but
okay.
The thing is, I think Michael Porter Jr. is getting subbed in and subbed out because he's not offering anything defensively against any of these Clippers lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you right there. I think he's too small for Kawhi. He should be able to guard a Norman Powell, but on paper, he should be able to guard him. But just when you're actually in the game, that's not actually possible.
This didn't turn into like a preview of the series. It just turned into a review of the first game.
No, for real. Aaron Gordon? Oh, my goodness. You have numbers. Jamal Murray, 3?
They should have attacked.
Russ, rebound, get big? That's a foul.
Oh,
that's a foul.
Okay.
That's a foul.
In the same way how you're saying that Nikola Jokic is balling, like I said earlier, James Harden right now, 27, 11, and 6. Like he's doing the same amount of work as a Nikola Jokic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get you, but I just don't think that he's as effective as what Jokic. I feel like Jokic, he could put his imprints all over the game compared to Zubac. I know defensively and he scores points, but as far as getting others involved, and I just think that the experience matters here. I know Kawhi has the experience. He's really the only one with championship winning experience. I'll put it like that, winning experience. This whole Nuggets team, they have winning experience in this starting lineup right here, even though Michael Porter's not in. I think the biggest swing factors is going to be, what are you going to get from a Peyton Watson, a Jalen Pickett, a Russell Westbrook, a Michael Porter? I think Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Jokic, those are the guys that you consistently count on. Chris Dunn?
But even in that same stance, Derek Jones Jr. has played in an NBA championship. Norman Powell has won an NBA championship. So there is still some championship pedigree on this Clippers team that have been there before. And Tyronn Lue has also been an
Yeah.
NBA championship head coach. So it's still the same amount on the other side. Like, and we're talking about, I know James Harden isn't a winning basketball player when it comes to the playoffs, but it's James Harden. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
he's as experienced as it comes in the entire NBA. Ooh, Kawhi with the nasty
That
fade.
was nasty. That was nasty.
He
That
had
was
a couple
nasty.
of those looks early on in the game, but they just
Yeah,
kept
and he was
rattling in
missing
and
those.
out.
Yeah. Detroit's up 1-3 versus. Oh no, 1-0. Now it turned 3-1. All right.
Oh, that's it. Detroit in 4.
Yep. Aaron Gordon, tough layup. Okay, 105, 102, 220 left right now. Well, now 220.
All right, so I guess we're coming to a disagreement on this series
Yeah.
once again. So I think I have the Clippers in 5 still, and then I don't know where you're at with the series.
So I have this going to 7
I guess after
games, no
this
matter
game,
who it
if they
is.
lose, Clippers in 6. So I'll just be safe and say Clippers in 6. I'll get the Nuggets too. Clippers in 6.
See, okay, I understand Clippers, and I think that was the biggest thing. You saying Clippers in 5. That's where I think Nikola Jokic is too dominant to only win 1 game in this series. I think this is going 7, and I'm saying this right now. I still haven't decided to right now. I'm going with the Nuggets in 7. I know it's not the move that everybody's going with. I know everybody's going with the Clippers in this one. But I think that the Nuggets, they are the better, or they have the better player. They might not have the better team. And I just think, I'll put it like this. The Nuggets, if they probably get to the second round, they're not going to do as much damage compared to the Clippers, who have more ability to do damage against these other teams. I'll put it like that. But
Kawhi with the rip.
Okay, minute 30 left. Pull up 3.
He's gonna pull it. Oh no, he's driving.
Oh,
A foul?
yeah, they
And
call
one?
a foul.
On the
Nah,
floor?
they call it on the floor. Yeah, on the floor.
Dang.
Okay. So, man, well, this is kind of hard to talk about a series whenever we're talking like, or when it's going on right now in the middle of game 1.
But I feel like we gave enough analysis.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Okay. But after this one, we'll be good. We'll be good.
Yeah. No, we're gonna Detroit and New York are just gonna be
Well,
having
at least that's the first quarter though. It's not no fourth quarter. Minute 20. James Harden, perimeter, drives. Money.
Yes, sir.
Money
Dude, why am I
on
going
Jamal
for the
Murray.
Clippers?
Because you picked the Clippers. Because you
Yeah.
You're so strongly for the
I don't
Clippers.
even want Kawhi to
They're
succeed
doubling
either.
Jamal. Oh, Russ.
Oh, you gotta get
nice
that,
Jokic.
Norman Powell. Norman Powell has to get that right there.
He has to.
It was a good defensive play, but still, you got to finish the job.
They're blitzing Jamal Murray. I don't know if that's the best. Christian Braun? Ooh, that's a big 3.
That's big right there. That's 2 possessions.
That is a big 4-point game. 59.5 seconds left in this ball game.
Let's move on to the next series then. Let's move on to the next series.
You ready? All right.
Well, no, we can continue, but they're going to like commercial break.
Yeah.
A pause right now. So
yeah. All right. So you had Clippers in 6, and I had Nuggets in 7. I'm trying to write down our predictions so like we could just see where we go from there. You had the Pacers in 7, right?
yes.
Okay, and I had Bucks.
Wait,
in
I
7.
guess they're not going to commercial.
Oh, they're not?
No, mine hasn't gone.
Okay. Now, let me just ask you this then. So, who do you think it's more important to win this game right here? Do you think, obviously, I know you think Denver's not going to win this series. So, do you think if Denver wins the series, does it change anything in your eyes here?
Like
as the overall landscape of this series right here?
Of the playoffs?
No, like
in general?
of this series right here. Of this series.
If they win this game?
Yeah, do you think, okay, well, Nuggets have a better chance?
Well, I think Nuggets in 6. That's why I upgraded it to Nuggets in 6 instead of Nuggets in 5. So, yes, I think it will change the outlook of the series because I think that Denver will at least get one more at home.
Mm-hmm. Man. Okay, Harden and Leonard. Dang, that was a quick read. He didn't even scored all points in overtime. Okay.
Who scored all points in overtime? Harden?
Kawhi and James Harden. This is a big possession for the Clippers right here.
They have to get a bucket right here.
If they don't, it's pretty much
game. They got to give it to Kawhi.
The largest lead of the game for the Nuggets.
Screen by Norman Powell, Aaron Gordon on Christian Braun.
Kawhi.
Out.
Chris Dunn.
Oh, Kawhi. That's a foul.
Kawhi stepped out. Kawhi stepped out.
Foul?
No. They were both going for the ball right there. Okay, I'm sorry. I know Chris Dunn, he has been making his last 2 3-point attempts, they haven't been made, but
They're blitzing him again, like you said. Watch, look at
they're blitzing Jamal.
that. They don't respect Russ. That's why.
Well, yeah, they're sagging off. They're even sagging off of Christian Braun.
You got
Oh,
beat,
still.
dog.
Oh. Kawhi. James Harden.
Harden.
James Harden.
James Harden.
James Harden. James Harden. Oh my gosh. This is vintage James Harden. They're blitzing Jamal again.
Dude, they're not even passing it to Russ. That's
Russ,
how you do that.
no.
Oh, that wasn't a foul. Oh, they got lucky right there in the Clippers.
Oh, Norman Powell just fouled Aaron Gordon.
He had to, bro. Time was running out.
No, there was still a shot clock. Oh, no, there wasn't.
No,
yeah, you're right.
No, after the rebound, it went away. It was less than 14.
I don't know if you saw yesterday how Aaron Gordon looked before the interview. It looked like this dude got jumped or something. Like, it looked like he got beat the hell up.
Dude, do you think he makes this one? What if he misses this one right here?
Nah, he's gonna make it. He's gonna make it.
I'm a hater.
Mostly because Ryan and I bet 10. Okay, so Ryan and I, we bet $10 on the Bucks Pacers. I put Bucks on game 1. He had Pacers, and we did this one too.
8-3.
Ooh. Then he picked Clippers and I picked Nuggets. So I'm hoping we wash. We go into tomorrow's games.
Mm-hmm.
I hope we go into tomorrow's games.
So what do you think the drop's going to be right here for the Clippers? A screen for Harden?
I think James Harden for
like
sure.
Or like a get from Kawhi Leonard, screen from Norman Powell. James Harden plays freelancer. Oh, catch and shoot 3. I think that's where it's going to go.
I think James Harden is going to inbound the ball, and then it's going to be him and Kawhi dribble handoff, however it looks from there. No, I think just a dribble handoff. That's just a natural screen right there. Yeah, and I think if James Harden has a more favorable matchup, if they switch, then Kawhi he takes that 3-point shot, but if not, James Harden. But if I'm the Clippers, I want James Harden to take this shot. I want James Harden taking this shot.
Nicholas Batum.
Give me Nicholas Batum.
Give me Nicholas Batum.
I already knew where you were going right there. No, I just think the Clippers being up 15 in this game, in what was it, the early second quarter?
A lot long. We're already at 32 minutes, and we're only not even past the second series.
I think what's slowing us down is this game. Yeah, what's slowing us down is this one.
It should be done already. It should be over already.
Yeah, that is true. Russell Westbrook, 15 points, 5 for 17 from the field, 8 rebounds, 3 assists.
He's doing his job. I will say, like, he's off the bench as the main ball handler. He is doing his job, but some of the shots he is kind of taking, he's being ultra aggressive on the transition. Yeah. I think that's what's also setting up the Nuggets in good positions.
Yeah.
Also, so like,
and you don't let the Clippers defense get set. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
did they call a timeout?
What's going on with this guy? Dude, we're trying to get our podcast moving. Does he not understand?
Did they sub him out? What happened?
Oh,
is his nose bleeding? Oh, his nose is bleeding.
I didn't know him and Zubac were from the same country until this game. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I did not know that. Oh, yeah, Jokic's nose is bleeding. That's what it was.
He's going to play with that in his nose? Is that even legal?
I guess it is legal at this point.
Where's Jamal Murray going now? Is his nose bleeding too? Well, they took him off for defense? They probably took him off for defense, huh?
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Because is he on the court? No, they put in Elfrid Payton?
Pickett?
Not Elfrid Payton.
Peyton Watson. Oh, Russ, he stole the ball. Look at Russ. Russ game-winning plays.
Was that out on James Harden?
Yeah, it was out on James Harden. Game-winning plays by Russell Westbrook, right there. Meanwhile, Jokic is just there chilling. Let's see. Oh, that's off of James Harden's fingertips. Man. Let's see.
Yeah,
that's off of James
Harden.
Yeah,
clearly
that's
James Harden. So it looks like the Nuggets are going to walk away with this one because even if the Clippers
foul,
whoever gets that angle is kind of weird right there. That angle showed a little different.
I think since it's so close,
they're going to keep it on the Nuggets.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't think they review that one?
Nah, I don't think they review. Well, Tyronn Lue has no timeouts. So,
don't the refs have the authority to like kind of just like review it? But no,
they do have the authority
right here. Ooh, Chris Dunn! Ooh!
Nah, it's a foul.
Oh, it's a foul. Bro, he's a dog, bro. Chris Dunn's a dog.
Bulls legend. Bulls legend Chris Dunn.
Hey, if y'all kept him, maybe y'all would have beat the Heat.
Too soon, Josh.
Sorry.
Too soon. No, but I just
Someone would have been able to guard Tyler Hero.
that is true. Nobody on our team can guard Tyler Hero. No, but I just think that
No, but this is game. Jokic's gonna knock these two down.
Let's at least see him make the first one. Let's at least see him make the first one.
2-possession game right here. Yep, that's game.
Okay.
2-possession game. 6.5 seconds left. Nuggets are gonna walk away with this one. I just don't see the Clippers any way in hell coming back from this one. So
yeah, no. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on from this one. Also, by the way, Ryan, we split, so we're going to be betting games tomorrow. I know you're going to be listening to this. I don't know when, but we're going to be betting again tomorrow or on another game, something like that. But let's go ahead and move on to this Knicks and Pistons game right here. Norman Powell? That's crazy.
No, that's too
I know there's no time,
late.
but Norman Powell still making that is crazy. So 112, 110.
Clippers, this one's gonna hurt for the Clippers. This one's gonna hurt because they definitely dominated early on and they just let the Nuggets back into this one.
8th 15-point comeback in the playoffs since 2019. I bet you 4 of those are the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals because they got swept and they were up in every single one of them. Then last year there was 2 of them actually. Yeah, there was 2 of them actually.
Let's move on to this next game. We already wasted at least probably 25 minutes. We'll have to into that one. We're sorry, guys.
It was a good one. It was worth it.
If y'all are dedicated, y'all are gonna watch. Y'all are gonna listen to that with us. So
yeah, it's worth it.
Y'all can just skip ahead. We'll probably put that a little disclaimer.
Yeah.
If y'all just want to skip past, we should probably do that. I don't know if you can enter into the episode.
Yeah,
later on,
I could just go into
37 minutes if you just want to go.
Yeah, I bookmarked it. It already. Yeah, no, but all right. Knicks and Pistons right here. So the young team and the Detroit Pistons, who weren't expected, they were expected like 25 wins before the season, and the Knicks had high expectations before the season, trading for Mikal, trading for Karl-Anthony Towns. So, what are you seeing from this series, and who's winning?
As much as I want to see the young team kind of win this series, and I think they will put up a great fight. I think it will be a fun series to watch. I think the Knicks are going to win this one in 6. I just think because Cade Cunningham, outside of him, there's not a real go-to threat to score the ball or get the offense moving. Everyone's kind of reliant upon what he does. The defense is very good. I just can't go against the veterans on the other side, like a Jalen Brunson, who is coming back healthy, who we know what he can do in the playoffs. We've already seen it last season, what he was able to do, kind of dig deep when it matters the most. I believe Karl-Anthony Towns will flip another switch in this series, but there is kind of a mismatch when it comes to the interior. That's where I think Pistons have the advantage when it comes to rebounding due to size. But I will lean towards the Jalen Brunson side of it all, especially with the Mikal Bridges, who I believe will step up more in the playoffs. Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, who has been on a tear in the season in OG Anunoby. You just got to get Sun Lee in the stands, and he's going to go crazy. So, but hey.
Hey, it works for me too, I guess.
But he's a better man than you, bro. I'm just going to say that. But yeah, I'm going Knicks in 6.
Okay, I guess this is our first agreement right here. I have Knicks in 6 as well. And I think the biggest thing is every time you see a star or a superstar first time in the playoffs, you see they get tested in a different way. And usually it doesn't go well their very first time in the playoffs. And I think they're going to be doubling Cade Cunningham. I know he has 9, almost 10 assists a game, but I just think that they're going to get the ball out of Cade Cunningham's hands. And if Malik Beasley hits 8 threes, if Tim Hardaway Jr. hits 8 threes, if Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, these other guys hit threes, then they're going to live with that. I just think everything is Cade Cunningham, you're not going to beat us. I think that's what it's going to be. So it's going to be all about the others in this one. And the Pistons, their defense is definitely there. I'll give them that. They have one of the best defenses, and their physicality can win them 2 games in this series. That's why I have Knicks in 6. So I'll say this. Each one of these games are going to be competitive right here. I'll say that just because the defense is going to keep their offense in the game. But I just think the slim chance I have for the Pistons, if they could find a way to win this series, is Cade Cunningham's shooting. Because he's been great this year as far as shooting the basketball.
Mhm.
But I think his 3-point shot's going to need to be a little bit better. 35% from three, that's not the best. If he could get that up to 40, 42, which we see stars do in the playoffs, if he could do that, then I could see them potentially pulling off the upset here. But as far as who I think Cade should be guarded by, I don't think Mikal Bridges should guard him. I think he's too small. He can't impact him physically. I think it needs to
Well,
be OG Anunoby. I think
yeah,
that's what he.
that's what I'm looking at right now. OG
Yeah,
Anunoby is actually waiting for him at the half court line for him to
yeah.
bring the ball up, and I think
Oh
that's the
wait, are you
perfect way to
ahead?
go. Where are you at?
Cade Cunningham's barely getting the ball right now.
I'm at 427. Malik Beasley has the ball.
Okay. Never mind.
Now
We're on
Cade
the same.
Cunningham's driving.
Okay, yeah.
Isaiah Stewart dunk.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
He
I was
looks like he hurt
like,
himself.
wait
He
a
came up
second.
hobbling.
I'm like, you got ahead a little bit, but nah. All right.
But I do like the Dennis Schroeder versus Jalen Brunson matchup. Not on the other, just like kind of defensively. Dennis Schroeder
Yeah.
versus Jalen Brunson. I like how that looks.
Mhm.
The Pistons do offer a lot against the Knicks. I will say,
Yeah.
like they do offer. I just think the experience on the Knicks side hold a lot more weight for me than the Pistons, who are still trying to figure out how to be here.
Yeah. And I just think the
Especially
Pistons
with
are.
Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah, Tom Thibodeau, he's one of the best defensive coaches in the league right now. And I think he's going to try to attack, they're going to try to attack Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. But I just think that it's all going to be dependent. Can OG Anunoby, can Mikal Bridges, can Josh Hart fight over those screens there and make it tough for Cade Cunningham? And another thing, is Cade Cunningham going to wear down in this series? I kind of worry about that. I kind of worry about that with Jalen Brunson too, honestly. Is Jalen Brunson going to wear down? Because it's going to be Dennis Schroeder, then it's going to be Asar Thompson, then Cade Cunningham at times. So there's going to be bodies thrown at him.
Oh, never mind, they got it back.
And I think Isaiah Stewart could be a problem for Karl Anthony Towns physically wise. I'll say that. I'll say physically.
I don't know. These last three possessions,
I'm telling you, their defense knows how to kick it up a notch. That's the reason they're going to be in these games. Honestly, I see 3 or 4 of these games being in the 90s. Like being in the 90s, like 95, 96-ish game right here. But yeah, no, I just think too much star power, too much experience. I'm going to just have to go Knicks here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Knicks for the exact same reasons. As much as I want to see the Pistons kind of make some noise in the playoffs, I just think they're a piece away. They're a piece away from being a real threat in the East.
Yeah.
A couple pieces definitely to play against the Celtics and the Cavaliers, but I believe they're still another star away from kind of being a real contender to get out of the East.
Yeah. All right. Well,
and the Knicks better do it because they went shopping this summer. It's going to be a failure if they're out in the first round, especially to a young team like the Pistons.
Imagine if the Knicks loses. What can you do?
No draft picks. But you shut them all for Mikal Bridges, get the Nets everything that they sent you all back.
Then your very last resources for Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Man, you know how much that sucks for the Knicks? If they waited another 2 months, they would have realized Kevin Durant was on the trade market.
Yeah.
If they waited just a little bit longer. No, but all right. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. I think this is going to be the interesting topic.
Yeah, this is going to be the interesting one right here, and it's the last game of the night right here. So, Los Angeles Lakers versus the Minnesota Timberwolves right here. So, kind of same thing we've been saying, and what's your prediction?
For me, I'm going to go with the Lakers in 6, and I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to Anthony Edwards on the other side. I guess I should have given the benefit of the doubt more to Nikola Jokic for the same reasons, but I think Anthony Edwards is going to have 1 or 2 games where he kind of just goes scorch earth, and he leads the Minnesota Timberwolves to a nail-biter game over this Los Angeles Lakers. But if we look at the team as a whole from the Minnesota Timberwolves, I just think there's not enough. Julius Randle doesn't offer anything for spacing. He doesn't offer anything offensively so far this season. They've really taken a step back without Karl Anthony Towns, who kind of fit very well against the play of Anthony Edwards, where Anthony Edwards likes to kind of drive in and kick out to players, and there's a wide open Karl Anthony Towns for a 3. While on the flip side this year, Anthony Edwards is doing a lot of the shooting, and he led the league in 3 points made. So it's been quite of an adjustment, and Rudy Gobert really offers nothing offensively. If we're being completely honest, that's one of his biggest things That's why they call him playoff Rudy Gobert. You don't trust him. And last year he kind of proved us wrong.
Gobert.
Yeah, you don't trust him. But last year he kind of proved us wrong a little bit when it came to playing defense. But this year, can he keep that up again? The Lakers on the other side. I mean, we talk about them pod in, pod out. It's just they offer too much, especially with a two-man game with Luka and LeBron James. LeBron James playing that 5 spot some games, kind of allowing Jackson Hayes to switch off a lot of the same ways that Jason Tatum is used on the Boston Celtics. He plays that 5, so when the smaller guard is up against Jackson Hayes, they set a screen. LeBron James switches to the smaller guard and Jackson Hayes is guarding the big. It's a mismatch. I think that a lot of people did not take into account when they made this move. I know Mark Williams would have probably added another bigger piece, especially offensively, for this Los Angeles Lakers team, but Jackson Hayes has stepped up to the plate, and I think that's one of the main reasons why they've been so successful is what he's been able to do offensively, especially in the pick and roll game with both LeBron James and Luka Doncic. But not only that, I just think there's a dude out there that's going to have to step up outside of those two, and that's going to be Austin Reeves. Yeah, I think Austin Reeves is going to go. The Lakers are going to go as far as Austin Reeves is, as far as Austin Reeves is going to be able to provide, coming from that being that third option that Luka and LeBron James need, especially when it comes offensively and scoring.
My bad. Those words are getting a little twisted up right there. I heard something. I heard something that sounded a little bit wrong right there.
I heard it's bad, bro.
All right, no. Okay. In all seriousness, I think that the Lakers' strengths, they meet up perfectly with the Minnesota Timberwolves' weaknesses. And I'll tell you this why. Because defensively, for the Minnesota Timberwolves, their strength is their perimeter defense and their rim protection with Rudy Gobert. But we saw this last year in the Western Conference Finals. Nobody could really be a threat to Luka Doncic because of his ability to be 40, 50 pounds heavier than Jaden McDaniels, than Nickeil Alexander-Walker, than Julius Randle. He's too slow. The only guy that could really stay with him is Anthony Edwards. And yes, he could guard him, but you don't want him guarding him the entire series because he's gonna have to do so much offensively for you. So maybe you try Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, a mixture between those two. But even after that, you have to worry about, all right, who's guarding LeBron? Is it going to be a Julius Randle? Which it kind of matches up physicality-wise. It does. Then you have to worry about Austin Reeves. Is Anthony Edwards going to guard Austin Reeves? Yes, it may be good at first, but then he's going to wear down after a while or potentially get into foul trouble because Austin Reeves is one of the best guys as far as getting to the line, surprisingly, and he's not even a superstar. And, okay, I've been seeing a bunch of stuff as far as Rudy Gobert. He's going to get played off the floor. And, okay, I agree with it to some sort. I want to ask you in a second, Josh. But, okay, Rudy Gobert, if you switch against Rudy Gobert and you try to attack him, he's actually one of the best. It's just Luka Doncic in game 1 hit that step back 3, which it was still a tough shot to make. It was still a tough shot. The way to play Rudy Gobert off the floor is to have a smaller lineup where you have Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, LeBron, Rui Hachimura, and Dorian Finney-Smith. And the reason why I'm saying that is because Luka shoots 38% from 3. AR, Bron, they shoot 38% from 3. And Rui Hachimura and Dorian Finney-Smith shoot 40% from 3. So Rudy Gobert won't be able to be in the paint. So if you have Rudy Gobert in that paint, good luck letting Rui Hachimura and DFS kill you the entire time. That's the way he's going to get played off the floor. And another way is attacking Mike Conley. So the reason why I'm saying that is because Mike Conley, he's been the only guy that's really been able to unlock Rudy Gobert offensively in Utah, in Minnesota. So if you have Mike Conley on Austin Reeves and he's not providing nothing for you defensively, he may be off the court. And that's the only chance Rudy Gobert has to be on the court, really. So my question to you here, Josh, before I get back to what I'm saying, do you think it's going to be as bad as people are saying? Rudy Gobert, he's only going to get like 20, 25 minutes in this series, or you're not buying that?
I think I'm going to have to almost agree. I think they're going to have to play a lot of smaller ball to keep up with LeBron James and Luka Doncic. I understand they're not really pushing the pace consistently from those two, but I think when it comes to moving around offense, it's becomes a lot to handle because there's even possessions where it's just Luka on the court, and then automatically when Luka comes off, LeBron James is coming to handle the ball, and it's is Rudy Gobert going to be able to deal with all the switches, especially if they do stick to man, or is he going to be able to handle all the switches, especially if he gets stuck onto a Luka Doncic or LeBron James 1-on-1?
Yeah, no. Yeah,
And I
no,
think
for sure.
that's the separator. I think even in Austin Reeves is very underrated, especially when it comes to a playmaker and creating shots for himself. It's going to be hard for a lot of people to do that. And I think Anthony Edwards, they have a defensive squad. The Minnesota Timberwolves do have.
Yeah.
But the thing is, keeping up scoring wise and finding another option outside of Anthony Edwards, that's going to be the struggle, I believe, for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, and okay, that kind of leads me to the point that I was saying as far as so with the Minnesota Timberwolves offense right here. I think the Lakers defense, it has been good, but I think it's okay. I don't want anybody to take this out of context, but it's not a good defense like individual like the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's more as far as helping off the man that can't shoot, cutting off the baseline, cutting off driving lanes. It's like that. It's a really smart and sound defense. And what they're going to do in this series is they're going to double ant, they're going to blitz ant tons of time throughout this series right here, and they're going to make him become a playmaker. And at times, Anthony Edwards, he looks like he's taking that step to be a next great playmaker. But then there's other games like the one game against Milwaukee and Minnesota where it was a 30-2 run and they blitzed Ant the entire time. And it's like he was in his rookie year all over again. So what type of consistency are we going to get from Anthony Edwards there? And with that being said, I think that the Lakers are winning this in 5. I
Okay.
I, I think so. I think that there there's going to be close games all throughout this entire series, but I just think the more clutch team right here is the Lakers. They're by far one of the best clutch teams. They're up there with the Celtics and the Thunder. So I think it's no different. I think even this first game right here is going to be back and forth the entire time. But I just think the Lakers are going to pull through midway through the fourth quarter and just not look back.
Mm-hmm.
But is there any other talking points you want to talk about?
I think this is going to be the year where Luka and LeBron James are able to kind of get over that hump, especially having another playmaker that kind of does a lot of the same things that can pass the ball on
Mhm.
selfishness from both of them.
Yeah.
I just from what I've seen, Luka Doncic is hitting that ceiling, hitting what he can do.
Yeah.
Like over the last couple of weeks of the season, dropping 31 in the first quarter, 39 by the third quarter. He's getting to where I ranked him the second best player in the world.
Yeah.
Why I have him as the second best player in the world behind Nikola Jokic is because what he can do offensively, and having LeBron James has eliminated so much pressure off of his shoulders
Mhm.
that I think we're about to see another level from both of them when it
Yeah.
comes to the playoff time, especially getting healthier. Luka Doncic is only getting healthier and more in basketball shape as the games go on,
Yeah.
and so is
Exactly.
LeBron James.
Yeah, that was definitely big for them missing the play-in and having home court. They got what, damn near a week and a half because they didn't
Mm-hmm.
play that last game right there, so damn near a week and a half worth. But all right, let's go ahead and move on to the 1 and 2 seed matchups right here that we figured out after the play-in. So the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Miami Heat right here. The
Mm-hmm.
Miami Heat, they beat the Bulls, sadly, and then they beat the Hawks in a crazy overtime game right here. They're the first 10 seed to actually make the playoffs right here. So I think we know who we're going to pick in this series, but what
Yes,
are just your overall thoughts?
I have the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5. I'll give the Miami Heat one game where Eric Spoelstra does his magic. Tyler Harrow takes over. Bam has probably a big game. But this is a matchup nightmare for the Miami Heat versus the Cleveland Cavaliers because a lot of the things that Miami was able to do to get into this game with the Trey versus the Atlanta Hawks and then versus the Chicago Bulls was Bam was able to play outside of the paint. He was able to guard a smaller player. He was able to play on Josh Giddey, really keep up with him athletically. But if you do that and you put him, let's say, on a Donovan Mitchell, on a Darius Garland, you're leaving two towers on the inside wide open by
Yeah.
themselves. And Khalil Ware, I just don't think is quite ready for those type of matchups, game in and
Mhm.
game out, to be guarding a Jarrett Allen, to be guarding an Evan Mobley. And Bam's going to have to probably guard Evan Mobley for the majority of this game. And it's going to leave a lot of opportunities for Jarrett Allen versus Khalil Ware. And I just don't think Khalil Ware, he's going to be a good player in the NBA. I think we've already seen the
Yeah.
glimpses, but to handle Jarrett Allen for a 7-game series, especially trying to kind of play on the offensive end, it's going to be hard for any
Yeah.
matchup. And Tyler Herro, he was able to go scorch earth against the Chicago Bulls. He was able to have a good game versus the Atlanta Hawks. But what we saw from the Atlanta Hawks was where they were able to play small ball lineup, create a lot of opportunities for themselves versus the Miami Heat, beat them in the runs, beat them in transition is what we saw later on into that game. The Cleveland Cavaliers have that tenfold. They have Donovan Mitchell. They have Darius Garland, who can run this offense. When one's off the court, the other one's on the court. Evan Mobley, who is a mismatch for almost anybody in the entire NBA. And if there's one guy that can probably match up against him, is Bam. But then that
Yeah.
leaves a lot of opportunity open for the rest of the players on the other side. And the only thing that I have a disconnect with is who's going to guard DeAndre Hunter on the wing.
Yeah.
It's just a question, because they present too many mismatches that the Miami Heat just don't have answers to, losing Jimmy Butler. And it's going to take a big series from Andrew Wiggins for them to even be I think, competitive in this series.
Yeah. Okay. Well, kind of going off your last few points. So I'm picking the Cavaliers in 5 here, but I just want to point out a little bit of stats right here as far as to kind of give a little bit more optimism for any Miami Heat fan. So the Miami Heat, they ran 15 or they played zone 15% of the time. And the Cavaliers saw 72 out of those 150 possessions of zone. So they've seen it a lot. And the Cavaliers offense averages 122 points a game. Compared to against the Miami Heat, they average 115 points a game. So that's a 7-point drop off. So there's something there with Eric Spoelstra where he knows how to play against his team. 115 is still a lot of points, but it goes from the best offense in the league to middle of the pack. And then since January 1st, the Cavaliers have been 14th in defense, 25th in defensive rebounding. And the Cavaliers, as of right now, they're shooting 46% from the field compared to 37% from the field to their opponents. They're holding them to. So I just think that no, don't get me wrong. The Cavaliers are going to win this series, but there's going to be some games. I think there's going to be more games than not where the coaching of Eric Spoelstra is just going to pop out, and Tyler Hero is going to have those games where he's going to step up.
Yeah, that's
So
why I gave them that one.
Yeah, I think they're winning one for sure, but I think there's going to be another couple games where it's going to be close in the fourth quarter and we don't expect it. But it's no disrespect to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's more respect to the Miami Heat and what they bring. And just a few more things I want to pull up. So the Cavaliers last year, they went from averaging 114 points to 104 in the playoffs. Then they went from shooting 37% from 3 in the regular season to 31% from 3 in the playoffs. So is there still going to be a drop off? This is the playoffs now. I don't know if the lights are going to be bright for them. I know Jared Allen said that a couple years ago or something like that. The lights got too bright, or he said something like that. But that's going to be my biggest thing I'm looking for the series. Not necessarily are the Cavs going to win, but is there going to be a drop off? Is this going to be the same offense? Is this going to be the same defense that we've seen in the regular season? So yeah, no. But no other key factors to take away, in my opinion, unless you want to say something else, Josh.
No, I just think the Cleveland Cavaliers, they have too much to offer versus the Miami Heat to go against them.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to this next 1 seed right here. The Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Memphis Grizzlies right here, in which the Grizzlies, they retained that 8 seed after losing to the Warriors. They beat the Kings. Or no, Mavericks, my bad. They beat the Mavericks here. So obviously, again, both know who we're going with right here, but what are your initial thoughts?
I think this is going to be one of the first. This is going to be, for me, one of 2 sweeps in this early on playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that the Oklahoma City Thunder is too much of an answer, too much of a mismatch for the Memphis Grizzlies. I think we saw them kind of dominate versus this Dallas Mavericks team. Anthony Davis went scorch earth and it still didn't matter versus this Memphis Grizzlies. But this is also a Dallas Mavericks team with really nothing to offer and create and with really nothing to offer and nobody to create offense from the perimeter. And that's Shea Gilgeous-Alexander on the other side for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I understand Chet Holmgren isn't to Anthony Davis's level when it comes to offense quite yet.
Oh no, it's the
But
Grizzlies. It's the Grizzlies.
yeah,
You said
that's what I'm
Anthony
saying.
Davis.
Yeah, I'm still making the comparison.
Oh,
Like,
my fault, my
yeah,
fault, my fault.
yeah,
My-
yeah. Chet Holmgren isn't quite to the level of an Anthony Davis yet when it comes to creating offense, but I still do think he's able to put that work in against anybody that the that oh, you threw me off. That the Grizzlies
My
have
bad,
to
my
offer.
bad.
I just think Jaren Jackson Jr. I understand defensively he's able to match up against a lot of people, but there's also Isaiah Hartenstein there who likes to play in that pick and roll situation, and just the outside shooter that they have there in Oklahoma City with an Isaiah Joe, with a Jalen Williams, with all that and then Chet Holmgren's also able to take you out to the perimeter and shoot three. So the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think for me, just offer too much answers to whatever the Grizzlies can throw at them, and I know they still have probably adjusted without him, but Jalen Wells, I think, is a part of that big perimeter defense that they really need to match up against, like a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander game in and game out.
Yeah, and my bad. I didn't mean to throw you off. It's because I started watching the game a little bit, then I heard you going on about Anthony Davis. I'm like, oh shit, did I have to say the Mavs on accident? Yeah, no, that's my bad right there. But okay, I just want to say something. So I'm listing like all the lineups right here, and I just looked through, and usually there's like an 8-9 man rotation for each team in the playoffs. But then I look at the Oklahoma City Thunder and who could really play for them. So obviously you have Shea, Lou Dort, J Dub, Chet, Ihart. Then you have Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe,
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Wiggins, Kenrich
Jalen
Williams,
Williams.
and Jalen Williams. You have
Yeah.
11 guys who could actually get burned, and depending on their matchup, they could be pivotal guys in that specific game. And 7 of those guys shoot 38% from 3 or better. Their
Yep.
worst guy in their lineup is Alex Caruso, who shoots 35% from 3. And 35%
But then he's a
from 3,
playmaker more than
yeah,
anything.
yeah, exactly. And 35% from 3, that's nothing to slack at right there. That means you're an average shooter. They shouldn't leave you open. So I think that shows everything about the Oklahoma City Thunder here. And I agree with you. This is going to be a sweep. I think there's not really going to be any game that's close here. I think by third quarter, it's going to be out of hand. Unless I don't even see John Morant. I think Lou Dort is going to clamp him up. It's just too much of a mismatch. Okay, only thing I'm going to ask you here is, do you think they start both Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein here? Since
I think it's
Zach
whatever
Edey
the
and JJ.
Grizzlies. I think it's whatever the Grizzlies will present. I think we've seen them do this multiple times versus different opponents. They've started both of them. They've set Hartenstein at the beginning of the game. They set Chet Holmgren at the beginning of the game. I just think whatever the Grizzlies offer, they're going to match it in a certain way. And I just think points wise, the Oklahoma City Thunder are the fourth in the entire NBA this season. Defense, they've been number 1. Their opponents only scored the third most amount, the third least in the entire. It's kind of weird how they put it. I hate that they put like the stats, like the third, like I don't know how to explain it myself. So
like third best in the NBA or
they
third
only allow
the third worst,
the third least amount of points.
third best defense in the league.
They're the
pretty
third
much.
best defense when it comes to their opponents scoring, and number 1 as a whole because they get the most steals, and their opponents don't do very well against them defensively either. Their opponents are in the bottom 5 when it comes to assists, when it comes to steals. So there's not a lot of second chance opportunities. There's not a lot of breakaway points. There's not a lot of just extra buckets that they give up to other teams. And that's where the perfection, I think, of Mark Daigneault is created for this Oklahoma City Thunder, that they're always on it when it matters the most. And I just think in a 7-game series where the Memphis Grizzlies have to match that when John Morant isn't that strong of a shooter, and I know the interior is going to be packed out with the Oklahoma City Thunder and constant rotation, it's going to be hard for the Grizzlies to create anything, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But let's go ahead and move on to this next series right here, which I think I'm kind of figuring this is the other one that you're going to consider a sweep right here. The Boston Celtics versus the Orlando Magic right here. So Magic, they beat the Atlanta Hawks in the play-in. They pretty much dominated the Hawks. And in the fourth quarter, got a little bit close, but Magic, they end up blowing them out midway through the fourth quarter. So Same thing. What are your thoughts from this one, and how far is the series going?
I just don't think the Magic are going to be able to get Cole Anthony scoring 26 points to help get them over the hump versus the Boston Celtics. I think the Boston Celtics, just much like the Thunder are versus the Grizzlies, I think it's at a higher level versus the Orlando Magic. I understand Paulo Banchero is a really good player in the NBA. He's going to be good, but match against Jason Tatum one-on-one, I'm taking Jason Tatum on both offense and defense almost every single time. And just the depth that the Boston Celtics have to offer both offensively and defensively. You go from a lineup that could consist of Drew Holiday, who's going to be back in almost full health for this series, right? I think he's going to be back fully.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Drew Holiday, Derek White. You can move Derek White to the bench. You can start Derek White. There's going to be Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and then dude, it just goes on and on. Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, these guys all know their roles. Shoot threes, find the open guy, and keep doing that over and over and over again, and just break your opponent's will. That's what the Boston Celtics play. They play, we're going to shoot the lights out so y'all can't keep up with us anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the recipe that they've had the entirety of the season. Especially big man wise. Al Horford plays perfect basketball most of the time. Luke Cornett's played very well this season. Kristaps Porzingis offers a mismatch for anybody that the Orlando Magic has to offer when it comes to the interior. I don't think there's a guy on the Orlando Magic that can really guard him one-on-one on the interior. It's just too many mismatches. And then we even see Jason Tatum play at the 5 sometimes, where they can rotate him onto the smaller guard, and just constant rotation defensively that Joe Mazzulla has to offer. The Boston Celtics are going to win this one quite easily.
So I agree with you. The Boston Celtics are winning this one, but I'm going to give the Orlando Magic one game. And the main reason for that is because their defense.
Yeah, their defense is
I say
better up
yeah,
there.
I say their defense with there's KCP, there's Franz, Paulo, Wendell, Cole Anthony, Gary Harris, John Isaac, Anthony Black. Those guys all know how to play defense. Like, for sure, they know how to play defense. And one thing is that they could be able to switch. So I think this series is going to be more, well, the Celtics, their offense doesn't look as good because the Magic's defense, but I don't think the Magic's offense can replicate enough points for the Celtics defense to be in a bind here. But I think there's going to be one game where Paulo and Franz, they have it going. Their shooting's going to be scorch earth. And I think they're going to be able to get one game, preferably. I think I was leaning more towards game 3, but I think game 4, they're going to be able to win
Like
that game.
On a like last hope type of win.
Like a last hope, desperation, something like that. But also one more thing to look at, in my opinion. Jaylen Brown, how is his knee going to look? I know he had a shot in his knee, I think a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I don't know how that is. I know he's been resting a lot, so I want to ask you about that. What do you think this could be something big down the road right here as far as with Jaylen Brown?
I think it doesn't matter for this series, but down the line when you have to play a faster squad offensively, let's say if the Pacers get by, or if Damian Lillard's a little bit more healthier in the Milwaukee Bucks, even on the other side, when you look at some of the other matchups with the Pistons offered defensively, or the New York Knicks are able to do scoring the basketball, I think Jaylen Brown's probably going to have to be a lot more involved in those series. You're not going to play the Cleveland Cavaliers early on, so you don't have to worry about that till the Eastern Conference Finals. But out of all these other teams that they may have to play or get through, it's going to be a hard matchup to go against without a Jaylen Brown. I think the Celtics are good enough depth-wise to get past all these teams, but Jaylen Brown makes their job a lot easier. In this series, I believe that how you were saying that this is why I'm still sweeping. I know the Magic have arguably they have the top ranked defense, but arguably the best defense in the entire NBA.
Yeah.
But the disconnect is scoring. These other teams do offer scoring in some way, shape, or form that the Magic do not. And that's why I think that may pose some problems for the Celtics down the line.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, but okay. I'm just thinking if Jaylen Brown, he doesn't look healthy, I don't think he's going to get any healthier unless he rests. Would you even throw out the possibility here of letting Jaylen Brown rest his first series, if need be?
I think so. I think Derek White has shown that he can fill in perfectly fine and take on a bigger role in this Boston Celtics offense and defense. He offers everything that Jaylen Brown does, but at a lesser degree, I will say. So I think Derek White can fill in perfectly, especially throughout the entirety of this series for the Celtics to even get the job done.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that because no disrespect to the Magic right here. I just think the Celtics, they're just too good. So there's
They
not
have
really
too much
many
depth.
talking points. Yeah.
They
There's
just
not
have too much depth. Like anyone, Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser off the bench are going to shoot the lights out. Like it doesn't matter
even Al
what.
Horford or
Yeah, Al
Kristaps.
Horford. But even when Al Horford starts, that's when the Celtics, I think, are at their best, is when Al Horford is actually in the full fold of
Yeah.
the starting lineup.
Yeah, damn. 30, what is he, 38, 39, something like that?
I don't know if he's that old, but he's old.
I thought he was, you know what? Let me check really quick. I swear he was up there in age. Al
What's Al
Horford,
Horford's age?
38 years old.
Oh, he's up there. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was thinking 36. I don't know why, but yeah, so 38,
Well,
still getting it done.
well, speaking of another 38-year-old, as far as this last matchup that we're about to go into, the Houston Rockets versus the Golden State Warriors right here. So this one, everybody, they really have the 7 seed right here, the Golden State Warriors winning this matchup right here. But what are your predictions from this one right here? The young team versus the experienced team, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler versus the young Rockets. Who's winning and why?
Very simple. I have no idea.
Josh,
I
literally
understand.
the exact same thing right here. I have no idea.
I have no idea who's going to win this series. I really don't feel comfortable picking either option. I think both teams. This is going to be probably the closest series we're going to have. I truly believe that. When it comes to veteran having the top 5 player all time, in my opinion, and Stephen Curry on the other side of the ball, the best shooter of all time, Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy. You never know what you're going to get from Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, and it could be absolutely the best player in the entirety of. He's like the best player on the planet when it comes to the playoffs, and Jimmy Butler. Draymond Green's definitely going to want to get the job done defensively, and he offers a lot of mismatch problems versus Alfred Sengun. But on the flip side, the Houston Rockets offer a lot of mismatches and problems for Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors, especially when it comes defensively. And I think the disconnect from the two is that the Rockets don't have that give me the ball type of scorer game in and game out like the Warriors do when it comes to Jimmy Butler and Stephen Curry, but they do offer guys everywhere that can get the job done, and guys like Jalen Green and Alfred Sengun who in certain nights can take over and play like a top 15 player in the NBA. I'm not saying they are, but they get up to that type of level in certain games throughout the season, and I believe they can do that multiple times in a playoff series when it matters the most, and especially defensively, led by Ime Udoka. They offer depth defensively, especially when it comes to, I think, that 5 and 4, the power forward and center positions with Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, Alfred Sengun. They offer, and Dylan Brooks even plays up also. They offer those type of mismatches, and I think that would pose problems for the Golden State Warriors, because these guys are also very athletic. They move around, they can guard smaller positions and even switch off. And interior wise, I think that's going to be the struggle for the Golden State Warriors, and especially having a guy like Amen Thompson, who will probably shadow Stephen Curry for most of the game and make it stop. We're not doing that right now. And Amen Thompson could make the job a little bit harder for Stephen Curry, especially if he's chasing him around the entire game and offering a size mismatch. It's Stephen Curry, so you're not going to stop Stephen Curry, but you can definitely cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, no.
And for me, I don't know who I'm picking still.
Okay, well, I'll give you a little bit more time because I'm still on the fence right here. So I think what everybody is going to bring up right here as far as for making a case for the Rockets, they're going to bring up Amen Thompson holding Stephen Curry to 3 points in this last matchup. But I think that's really unfair. That was 3 games in 4 days, and they just beat the Lakers. They just beat the Nuggets. So, and the Rockets, they were coming off a couple days of rest. So it's really an unfair assessment as far as to what to expect from this game. But just looking at the clear picture, like you're saying, the Warriors, they easily have the 2 best players in this series right here. But everybody else outside of Draymond Green, the Rockets have the better players and they have the better depth. But the Rockets also have a defense, athleticism, and physicality advantage in this series right here.
In transition.
Yeah, and in transition. Like I was saying, transition and rebounding, that's the biggest advantage for the Rockets right here. And I think that yes, the Rockets half court offense struggles, but the Warriors, they've always been a team that turns the ball over a lot in the postseason. This has always been, if you want to say like a signature mark for the Golden State Warriors, other than like the great ball movement, the 3-point shooting, revolutionizing, the turnovers is also a part of it, the downside. They've always had at least 12 to 15 turnovers damn near in a game. And one of those teams you don't want to do that against is a Houston Rockets. They make you pay in transition. So I think this is why these games are going to be close. Then after that, it's going to come down to, can the Rockets be, because I think there's going to be a lot of clutch games in this series right here. Can the Houston Rockets generate clutch bucket, whether Jalen Green, whether Fred VanVleet, whether it's Albert Sengun? It's one of those three guys, because they're going to sag off of Amen Thompson, off of Dylan Brooks, those guys who are going to be in the game. So those guys are going to need to make their shots. And I just think Jimmy Butler, he's going to be the main guy in this series right here. In order for them to win, Steph Curry is not gonna
He's
kill
a pure
the
ball
Rockets.
handler.
Yeah, the Ime Udoka, he saw the last time he saw Steph Curry in or overall in a series was 2022 when they won the championship, and we saw what Steph Curry did. Ime Udoka, I'm pretty sure he's telling this to Amen Thompson, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks. Steph Curry is going to be blitzed or doubled no matter what, whenever he touches the ball, whenever he passes half court. So Jimmy Butler is going to have to capitalize on those one-on-ones and get to the free throw line. And that's another thing I want to ask you about, Josh. So against the Grizzlies, Jimmy Butler had 18 free throw attempts. I don't know if that's going to happen exactly in the playoffs here, because I know the play-in tournament is pretty much the playoffs, but I don't know how much that's going to happen. So do you think the calls are going to be going the same way, or do you think it's going to be a little bit tougher?
I think a lot of that happens is because the double teams that do happen on Steph and Curry. I think we saw the Grizzlies trying to do that as well, especially trying to keep them contained, especially off ball. They were denying. So that left Jimmy Butler a lot of the times with one-on-one mismatches. And I that may happen versus the Houston Rockets, where he gets a one-on-one mismatch, drives to the basket, and gets fouled. And it's just going to happen with a veteran, the type of player that Jimmy Butler is, who's kind of relentless on the offensive end when it comes to playoff basketball. And I do see him getting to the line quite a bit, especially if Stephen Curry's not the primary ball handler in this series.
Yeah. And also, one more thing. The double big line, or two more things, actually. I want to bring up this one first. I know I said the double big lineup. I'll get to that in a second. Jonathan Kuminga. I feel
He
like,
has to play.
yeah, that's the biggest X factor. I feel like when you're facing a young athletic team, I think Jonathan Kuminga has to play in this game, and he's gotten DNP these past two games right here. So I know you said he has to play, but how much do you think he could actually impact this series here?
I think it just adds an extra runner, especially in transition, to help kind of keep up with a player that can keep up with the Houston Rockets, because I know these other guys, they're not that old, or they're old, but they can still keep up. But a guy that can kind of play in and play out if the Rockets do get into transition and be there at the rim when players are full sprint to the rim to make a layup, there has to be a guy that can keep up transition. I think Jonathan Kuminga and is definitely going to have to be one of those guys that is playing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And all right, this last thing,
especially rebounding wise too, versus the Houston Rockets. He's going to have to be in the game.
Yeah, he's damn near 7 foot. So that's
I think it comes down
body.
to rim running and transition defense. That's why they need Jonathan Kuminga playing.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And like I was saying with this rebound right here, the double big lineup of Steven Adams and Albert Sengun. So whenever they're on the court together, they're the best rebounding team, and the second chance points as they get. I think that whenever Steph Curry goes off the floor, you're going to be able to get away with this lineup right here, because like I told you before, Brandon Podziemski, you respect him as a shooter, but Jimmy Butler, Moses Moody, Draymond, Gary Payton, Kevon Looney, whether Guy Santos, Quinn Post, you're going to let those guys shoot those open threes. So they have great shooters, but they don't have an overall great team. That's the difference there. So I think this double big lineup, that's going to be an interesting thing to look at here. But okay, I want to ask you this too. Okay, so I have the Warriors lineup right here. if you only had to pick an 8-man rotation here, I'm gonna list all these guys for you. So there's Steph Curry, Brandon Podziemski, Jimmy Butler, Moses Moody, Draymond Green, which is the obvious, right? Then try to pick three guys out of these: Gary Payton, Buddy Hield, Kevon Looney, Guy Santos, Jonathan Kuminga, and Quinn Post. If you had to pick three guys out of those 5.
I think Buddy Hield is definitely going to have to be a factor in this series, especially offering another mismatch offensively. So I'm going to go him. Then I'm going to go also with Gary Payton, because Gary Payton offers a lot of the dirty work. He's the effort guy. He's the rebounder, defensive specialist. Just thing is, he doesn't offer much shooting, and that's gonna be the problem. Then Quentin Post definitely has shown a lot what he can do on the interior, and especially versus a guy like Alfred Sengun, he could kind of not. I'm not saying he's gonna stop him, but he offers the same athletic. He offers almost the same athletically to be able to put a body in front of Alfred Sengun.
Yeah, no, for sure. But all right, Josh,
and a Jabari Smith when it comes to the interior as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Josh, it's prediction time here. Who is winning this series right here? Or okay, I'll go ahead and say it. It because I know who mine is right here. So I say Rockets.
Actually,
you got yours? You got yours?
We are a biased sports podcast, and I absolutely hate the Houston Rockets. So I'm going the Golden State Warriors in 6 games.
Josh, I had that exact same pick right there. So
yep.
I have the Warriors and excuse me, I have the Warriors in 6 right here. And I think Houston, they win game 1. Then Golden State wins game 2. And they win game 3 and game 4. Houston, they win game 5 to have it go back to Golden State. And then Golden State, they close out in game 6. I just think there's too much star power in having the 2 best players in the series right here. It's going to just do so much for them. And it's going to help the Rockets eventually. So, all right. That's all.
We are a biased sports podcast. We are biased. When you see this man, this man,
Mr.
right
Tim
here,
Duncan. I didn't even know
this guy.
Is that Slam
right
magazine?
Here. It's like the cover.
I never knew he was on a Slam magazine.
Yeah, it's only when he was ever on.
Oh, okay. Iceman. I never heard that nickname before. Iceman.
That wasn't him. It was like it was kind of like a dedication to like George the Iceman Gervin. How you had that picture where he was sitting on the throne and he had the 2 basketballs. It was kind of like the same, like because he was still. I believe he was still like in his 3rd year when this came out. So like they were doing like an homage kind of to George Gervin.
Okay. I didn't know that right there. But all right, this next one we have right here, as far as we were going to make a top 10 list, but this was too competitive of a top 10 list and to actually rank players that could benefit from winning a ring right here. So, Josh, we'll just go back and forth right here. I'm going to let you go and say you.
How about let's just make it easier? Let's go series by series and kind of just pick players out.
Okay.
From that. I feel like that'd be a little bit easier, you know?
Okay.
Like, kind of let's go like Bucks versus Pacers of Giannis. I feel like if Giannis were to win another ring, I think, honestly, that would do a lot for him. I think that would put him kind of close to top.
Where the Hakeem ranges?
Yeah. I'd say like the 9 to 13 area where like the Kevin Durant's, Hakeem Olajuwon's, Nikola Jokic's, like a lot of these players kind of sit right now. People are going to get mad at this Larry Birds. I think he's going to be in that type of conversation after he wins this ring, and the arguments are really there for him to be in that 10 spot all time because what he offers defensively this year, he's playing MVP season. If it wasn't for Nikola Jokic and SGA, I think the front runner for MVP would definitely be Giannis, and adding that other ring to the one he already has, I'm guaranteed he would win the Finals MVP. It would do a lot for his career.
Yeah, and okay, I'm going to go to a little bit of a different series right here. I'm going to stay in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to say Jason Tatum from this one. Jason Tatum, if they win back-to-back championships, I'm assuming he'd win Finals MVP in this one. Even if he doesn't, he's already consensus top 5 player. You could argue up to top 3. He'd have to be he'd have to be the best player in the. I know Nikola Jokic is putting up crazy stats, but you can't argue with the fact if you win back-to-back titles on the best team in the league, still winning over 60 games, he's a proven winner. Yes, individually he may be better, but as far as contributing to team success, Jason Tatum would be that number one guy. And the only thing that would really be missing, because he has the first team All NBAs, he has the defensive teams. The only thing missing would be an MVP. And I believe next
Mhm.
year after that, he'd be up. He was even up here. I think he's probably going to finish fifth in MVP, fourth or fifth, somewhere around that range for MVP.
Mhm.
So I think next year there's going to be an even stronger case or a narrative for him to be MVP if he wins that one, which is on the trajectory of one of the best players all time. I think for sure, just talent wise and just winning, he'd be argued top. Obviously, I'm not going to name 30 players, but the top 30 ish. He'd be up there for sure.
Well, I think there's a couple conversations that bring Jason Tatum into when he does win that extra ring. I think like how you're saying, I'm not going to give him the best because there's still an argument with Nikola
Yeah.
Jokic and a couple of the other players. But I think it definitely, instead of being a consensus top three like a Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and SGA, who I think is probably the consensus for most people, the top three players in the
Yeah.
NBA when they're at their peak,
Mhm.
I think he definitely enters that conversation. I
Yeah.
think I put him above SGA. I think
Yeah.
I would put him third in the entire NBA behind Jokic and Luka, but he has more of the championship pedigree than both those guys combined.
Mhm.
You know, and I think that would do a lot for his career. But I think our friend Damien, offered a rage bait, even though it kind of is probably turning into a conversation where he said that by the end of his career, Jason Tatum will be the best Boston Celtic of all time, and I'm not getting behind that right now because Bill Russell and Larry Bird do definitely exist, but I can see the trajectory to being top three. But if he has this ring, he's getting a lot closer to the conversation. I do think there's a lot more that has to go into. He has to win another championship,
MVPs.
a couple MVPs.
Yeah.
So it lead the league in points or assists. Those guys are too much on a pedestal for him for that conversation to start right now.
Yeah.
But I do think, I think right now I would take him over KG, Paul Pierce, any of those guys. For me, I think the only player I would probably argue above him is maybe Kevin McHale right now, and I would still have. But I think he's definitely in that 4 to 5 range all time as a Boston Celtic right now.
Yeah, it's hard for me to really disagree because he's had more success than Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett than any of those guys. So yeah, no, it's hard for me to really disagree. But
I think the only one, Kevin Garnett's the arguable one. But I'm talking about as a career as a Boston Celtic, he's definitely has a better career as a Boston Celtic than Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% on that.
All time wise, that's a different conversation. We can have that conversation another day. But people like to misuse my words all the time. So
for sure.
So Jason Tatum has had a better Boston Celtic career than Kevin Garnett. Not career, but Boston Celtic career.
Nah, I'm gonna cut that out. I'm gonna just cut that out in general.
Okay.
I'm a rage bait. Nah, all right. Do you have another one?
Because I thought we were gonna go series by series and name players, but we kind of jumped. But so I'm gonna stick with the Bucks and Pacers. I think what's a little bit real quick. I think the only other option on here would be maybe to a Tyrese Halliburton. I think Tyrese Halliburton may move into that 10-ish area, that top 10 consensus area if he does win another ring. Players in the NBA, if he does win a ring, it'll put him into that top 10 fold. He obviously doesn't offer scoring wise, but what he's able to do consistently on the offensive end and kind of being a good defender, not a great defender, I think it would definitely put him up there, especially because he would have the accolades to be in that conversation.
Well, okay, let me go ahead and say this then. Damian Lillard. I don't know how he's going to look in this first series, but if they happen to go on a championship run, I know Giannis, he's going to be the guy, but Damian Lillard, I don't know where he would be as far as top, or actually, let's do this right now. So there's Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, Steve Nash, Chris Paul. I'm at 4.
Russell Westbrook,
Oscar Robinson. Okay, just to play it on the safe side.
Point guard or shooting guard?
I'd say guard.
Okay.
I would say guard. Okay, just to be on the safe side, a top 10 point guard of all time.
Tony Parker's still there. 3, you can't deny 4 rings. Finals MVP. Damian Lillard don't got a Finals MVP.
But better overall, talent. And who would you want on your roster? Damian Lillard?
As a pure talent, I'd take Damian Lillard because he's also probably arguably the second greatest or third greatest shooter of all time behind Klay Thompson. But 4 rings compared to as the main point guard on all those teams.
Okay, Okay, you know what? I understand the argument because Dame doesn't. Nope, he has a bubble MVP. Never mind, he does have an MVP. A bubble MVP, Damian Lillard. No, but okay. In all seriousness, if he had an MVP and then he won a ring, then it might have been a little bit of a different conversation. You could argue. You could
Jason Kidd.
Jason. We completely see. That's why I said top 10. Playing it safe. Jason
He'd
Kidd.
be in the top. Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas is the third best point guard of all time. He gets forgotten about.
Is there any? We already said Oscar Robinson. Derrick Rose.
No, Derrick Rose longevity, bro. As much as I wanted to agree with you.
Okay, who's
Patty
another
Mills.
guy? We already said Steve Nash. We already said. Would you? Okay. Allen, do you have to say Allen Iverson? Do you?
Overrated player.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure. Okay, hold on, wait. I'm gonna let my dog out really quick, Josh. Like really quick. Okay. I'll be back.
So where will we put Damian Lillard, guys? Now that Fonzo is gonna let out his dog, Damian Lillard. I'm going Steph, Magic, Oscar, Isaiah Thomas.
Okay,
Chris Paul,
Jason Kidd.
I'm at Jason Kidd, Steve Nash.
Zeke.
That's 6 players right there.
Did you say?
I already have them in there. That's 6 players.
Russ.
So right now I'm at. Russ is. I'm still taking Russ even with the ring. I'm just saying. I'm still taking Russ even with the ring.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be in that top 10 for sure area. Yeah. He'd be in the top 10 point guards of all time. I think that 9 or 10 range is where you can make arguments amongst other players for him.
Yeah. Okay.
LeBron James. Shit.
You know what? You're right. LeBron James, he is a point guard. All right. I don't know if there's anybody really from the Knicks, Pistons, Magic.
Knicks, Pistons. Jalen Brunson moves into that same range as a Tyrese Halliburton. I feel like Karl-Anthony Towns, I don't think it does much for his career right now. Maybe like a Tyson Chandler arc or something. Maybe. I don't know. Like it'd be like that's where I'd probably have him at right now.
Cade, maybe one of
Cade. It would booster him. Honestly,
it would definitely be like a crazy run.
It would put a lot of pressure on Cade Cunningham for the rest of his career.
If Cade Cunningham as a 5 seed,
if Cade Cunningham wins a ring with the Detroit Pistons this year,
you know what? Go conversations. You would
have to go through a lot of teams to get there. It would probably be the greatest finals run of all time.
Yeah. Imagine Boston, Cleveland, OKC,
New York,
or LA.
Yeah. New York,
Boston.
Say he plays Boston next round.
Cleveland.
And then he plays
OKC,
one of the top
Lakers,
teams. It don't matter
Clippers.
In the Western Conference. If you beat a Western Conference team, he'd be the greatest run of all time.
That would be better than like a 2018 Braun run right there.
Okay.
So you know what?
All right, so
hypothetically, he does have a damn good shot. Hypothetically, yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Knicks and Pistons, really nobody there. Lakers versus Timberwolves. Lakers, LeBron James, GOAT status. I just add another ring to his resume. 5 compared to 6. It wouldn't be that much of a difference. Played in 10 championships. I think I'd rather almost take that.
But the interesting one.
Scorer.
The interesting one. We already know these 2 interesting ones right here.
Luka and Anthony Edwards.
Luka and Ant. Okay.
Well, let's break it down first. Luka, undoubtedly for me. No, okay, Jokic is still there.
Okay, which side do you want to argue? Okay, let's just have a little bit of fun here. What side do you want to argue? Luka or Ant would be more beneficial? I'll argue the other side. Pick one and I'll pick the other one.
All right, heads or tails?
You know tails never fails.
Oh, I get it. Heads or tails? It's tails. All right, who are you arguing for?
You know what? Luka Doncic is the easier one. Let me go Anthony Edwards right here. And do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Why Anthony Edwards? It would be better for him to win a ring. So first off, he'd have to go through the Los Angeles Lakers, the Rockets, or the Warriors, like you're saying, all this Western Conference teams. Then the Clippers, Nuggets, or Oklahoma City Thunder here in a year where he improved his 3-point shooting, where he was a sole offensive scorer right here. After his Western Conference Finals run, he'd kind of be on that arc of you-know-who, a guy that he gets compared to a lot. And I know he won an MVP before and he won a Defensive Player of the Year before. We know who I'm talking about, the guy from Chicago, but he'd really be on the level or rise into that level of a Michael Jordan status and face of the league. I know he doesn't want to be it off the court, on the court, he'd have to be the face of the league. And for him to even go on this finals run right here, I can't even say this about Luka Doncic. He could do this, or he doesn't have to do this, and they could still win. Anthony Edwards is going to have to average over 30 points, maybe 35 points a game in every single series, and most likely guard the best team's player, at least for a quarter or two, to even move on in these series. And talk about clutch offense, he'd have to kick another gear. So he'd have to outplay Luka Doncic, LeBron James, then he'd have to outplay Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, then Shea, and then have to outplay the Cavaliers stacked almost 70 win pace team, or Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and those guys who were the defending champs last year. So Anthony Edwards, he would be the face of the league, and he'd be creeping closer to that image. Whether he wants it or not. And then he'd be creeping closer to that image of number 23 from Chicago. So that's my case.
I think for Luka Doncic, it would be the best start to a career in almost NBA history if Luka Doncic were able to win a ring this year. I think he would undoubtedly be in that conversation as the best player in the world between him or Nikola Jokic, because he does a lot of things that Nikola Jokic can do at the one position, especially rebounding. I think people underrate Luka Doncic's rebounding a lot, and he's a good defender. He's an okay defender. He's not the best. He takes a lot of time off, but 6 straight all NBAs, injuries ruined it this year, leading the Mavericks to a championship appearance last year. First season in LA, puts them over the top, wins a ring with the Showtime Lakers, undoubtedly becomes the face of the NBA in Los Angeles. LeBron probably retires or plays one more season. Luka is the leader of the Lakers, leader of the most popular franchise in the entire NBA, if not all of sports. It would do so much for his career. I think my argument of being the best young player in Lakers history isn't even argued anymore. It'd be undoubtedly Luka Doncic, because at this point in their careers, I know who was better, and then and Luka Doncic would be looked at already by this time in his career a top 15 player in NBA history.
Okay, so again, we chose arguments. I'm pretty sure we could have both argued either or, but I'm gonna let these people in the comments decide, or whoever listens to this, let us know personally whether you know us or not, who had the better case. So I think just listen to the Luka case. I feel like it's a lot.
Luka already has so much more statistically than Anthony Edwards. So Anthony Edwards isn't getting argued as the best player in the world per se. Most popular player is a different story, but best player in the world, it's for the majority of the time it was Luka and Jokic.
But can I tell you this? He's on a Luka arc, because look what Luka did. He made it to the Western Conference Finals, and then he lost. Right, to the Golden State Warriors, a more experienced team. Then Anthony Edwards made it to the Western Conference Finals in, what was it, his third or fourth year? Luka made it in his third or fourth year. So they're kind of ascending on the same level. He's about to start reaching that. I think next year he's going to reach that first team All NBA. Even at so, he might even be first team All NBA. You argued him for first team All NBA this year. So, so he might. I think he's getting there on that Luka level. He just hasn't played as long, so he can't be argued as well as Luka. I'll say that.
Yeah, but Luka already led the league in scoring at this point.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. But all right, what's the next series?
Grizzlies versus Thunder.
Ja Morant. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Well,
I think it puts Ja Morant back into a conversation. I think it puts Ja Morant back into a top 10 player. No, face of the league, he's done a lot that's kind of moved him away from that. But I think it puts him back into a conversation of being respected again, of being back into like the fold of where we're considering Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah. I think he gets back into that conversation. I think he gets back into that 10 range for best players in the NBA with a ring. And as far as
the greatest 8 seed player in the world, 8 seed run. Yeah, my fault. Go ahead.
No, but if SGA wins the ring, it's best player in the world.
Oh yeah, no, he'd have to be for sure. And can you say
Maybe
greatest
argue
guard season?
with
Greatest
Jokic.
guard season in history? You could argue
MVP
it's already
led
up
the
there
league
with
in
Jordan.
scoring.
You could
MVP led the league
that's
in scoring. Number
Jordan-ish.
one team, 65 plus wins. NBA championship.
Okay.
Probably going to be the Finals MVP. That would be up there with the Jokic season when he won Finals
Gosh,
MVP. And
I think it's up. It might be up there with the not as high, but the '97 Bulls season, where 72 wins. They had 67 wins this year. Led the league in scoring. Best offense player in the league. Shea's doing exactly that to a lesser extent, but better points, better
younger.
efficiency, younger, and a younger team around him, and making it to the finals and potentially dominating the better conference too. Eastern Conference was a better conference in the 90s. Western Conference is by far the better conference. So you could say it's Jordan-esque. I'm not trying to like compare everybody to Michael Jordan, but like seasons wise, as far as what he's doing.
You're gonna make your dad and use your arguments against you because you keep bringing up Jordan into this conversation.
Well, like, okay, Jordan, he's one of the best, but he's not the best. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. There's nothing like how they always tell me. There's nothing wrong with being number 2. There's nothing wrong with Michael Jordan being number 2. All right.
Yeah, but SGA would definitely be considered best player in the world after this.
How would you feel about Chet Holmgren? Would that? I don't think that does anything for Chet.
I don't think it does anything because he's not the star player. Like he's not, and he missed. It just doesn't do much yet. Like if he were the leading scorer or like this top defensive player of the year candidate, which he is going to be, but injuries derail him. But if he were to like win defensive player of the year this year and win a ring, like it would do a lot. I feel like.
Actually, there's 2 guys that we completely missed out on, which I know you're going to bring this guy up because we already talked about.
Jaren Jackson Jr.?
No. Mark Daigneault and JJ Redick. If they happen to win, some of the youngest
JJ Redick in year 1 NBA championship
would be insane. After being
he would never. I don't think he would leave LA for a long time if he were.
He would never. No.
Mark Daigneault would be like the best
38
start.
Years old. Yeah,
would be one of the best starts to a coaching career in NBA history. Like he would immediately win Coach of the Year 2 years in, and then he would win an NBA championship while leading your team to the number 1 seed, 65 plus wins. I think it would put him into best coach in the league conversation, which he already is. Yeah. But like him and Joe Mazzulla would be the front runners for that.
Yeah, no, I just completely forgot about coaches here. But all right, there's a lot of debate we could have with this one. Nuggets and Clippers.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to do the same thing we did with Ant and Luka?
No, let's just talk about the players. Okay. I mean, Nikola Jokic, top 10 player all time.
Where does he move up to?
I think.
Okay. I think he's top 10 already.
So let's name players. I mean, I think me and you have pretty much the same top players. So I think we're gonna go LeBron, Jordan, Kareem, Duncan, Steph, Magic.
There'd be Shaq, Kobe. Then after that,
here's where the conversation gets interesting. Maybe
there's Hakeem,
Bill Russell, Nikola Jokic.
Man, that's where that you know what? Let me pull up a top 10.
Compared to Hakeem, 2 MVPs, 2 championship defensive player of the years, 3 MVPs, 2 championships. He'd be in that 9 to 10 range quite easily.
I would think he might be at 9 if he wins.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'd be at 9. I'm
Kevin
trying
Durant,
to look.
He'd be above. I think he's already above Kevin Durant all time at this point.
I think for sure he's above Kevin Durant. Yeah, no, Larry Bird. I would take Jokic over Larry Bird.
But Larry does have
Jokic over Larry Bird too. Right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would too, but that's a whole other conversation that people are going to start arguing about. But I think it definitely gives him that 9 to 10 argument, no bar none. I think he's in the top 10. Like what he's able to do, average a triple-double season, 3 MVPs, 2 finals championships. I think it puts him up there. But also for these same arguments,
and then the 2-0 argument, 2-0.
Yeah,
argue that.
Yeah, but then Kawhi Leonard would also be in the same type of argument. I think he would work his way. I know the MVPs are lacking. Not going to have an MVP. I think it's going to be hard for him at this point in his career to secure an MVP. But top 15 player all time, bar none. 3 championships, more than likely 3 finals MVPs, 2 defensive player of the year awards, right? 2 defensive player of the year awards or just 1?
I think just one.
Just 1 defensive player of the year award. 3 different teams, 3 different championships, 3 finals MVPs, consistently best 2-way player in the entire NBA when he's on the court. I think that would put him into the top. I think there's a lot of players. Kevin Garnett, I'm taking him over Kevin Garnett all time. I'm taking him over Dirk Nowitzki. Oh, that one's a hard one. I feel like that's there. Tough. That one's that's a close conversation right there.
Larry Bird?
No,
not over Larry.
Larry has MVPs.
Kawhi would be explained as the biggest, like, what the hell? You needed to watch him whenever he played.
Because he would because he gets the job done when it matters.
If you look at the stats, you could see 60 games, 12 games, and then I'm just listing off. Then he played in 2 playoff games the past 2 years, 3 now after today. So he would be the biggest predicament as far as you'd have to actually like watch him live whenever he played to see how dominant he really was. But all right. Now, James Harden. If James Harden as a number 2 option finds a way to win a championship here.
Well, he might be the number 1 option at this rate. At this rate, the playoffs is going.
Yeah, at this rate, yeah. He obviously wouldn't pass Kobe or Jordan, but he'd definitely be over Dwayne Wade in my opinion.
As the third best shooting guard of all time, I would have to argue that up there. I think Jordan and Kobe, they're their own. Jordan's his own tier, then Kobe's his own tier underneath that. Then underneath there, you get into a conversation of certain type of players. There's Dwayne Wade and James Harden right now.
Yeah.
But I think even though James Harden won't have as many rings, but as a pure playmaker, pure basketball player, Dwayne Wade is not on the same level as a James Harden. James Harden has led the league in scoring. He has an MVP. Has had almost averaged a triple-double. He would have a championship later in his career with Kawhi Leonard, still keeping the team in the fold to get into the playoffs. I understand at that time when Dwayne Wade has won his championship, it's been with LeBron James, it's been with Chris Bosh, it's been with Shaquille O'Neal. I know Kawhi Leonard is Kawhi Leonard and is being argued up there with higher than Chris Bosh all time, not Shaq and LeBron, but he would still definitely not the way that he was injured for a majority of their time together. James Harden would definitely be looked at a lot differently.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then the last one is obviously Russell Westbrook. It wouldn't be more. I don't feel like it would.
If Russell Westbrook was the starter, if Russell Westbrook was still a starter, but I think it would just cap off a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's what it'd be. But I think that's pretty much all of them right there. I don't think we're missing anything else
from that series.
Yeah, I think this last series right here, the Warriors, and I think it's just more the Warriors right here.
Mm-hmm. So we didn't talk Heat versus Cavs.
Oh, we didn't talk Heat versus Cavs. So those are the 2. All right.
I don't know if this is I know the Cavaliers, it would do a lot for them as a whole, but as individuals, I don't really see it moving a player up. I think the only one, like you talked about before we even talked about this podcast, was Donovan Mitchell. It moved him into that top 10 range, solidified as that 10th spot because he is argued in and out of that range, in and out of that spot, because he's one of the best pure scorers in the entire NBA, but having that ring would definitely elevate him to a higher status. For me, I think the person that it does the most for is Erik Spoelstra. If Erik Spoelstra were to win a ring with this with his Miami Heat team,
another great Miami run
with the 10th seed. Like, he'd be the first team from the 10th seed to get into the play-in, plus also win with an 8 seed, take them to a championship and win. It would be his second team, I believe, from the 8 seed that he's taken to win a championship.
He took one of them to a championship 2 years ago.
This time he would win. I think, dude, Hall of Fame career easily. I would argue him a top 5 coach in the history of basketball.
Yeah, no, for sure. There would be no arguments against that. But all right, let me go on the other side right here. Steve Kerr, if he happens to win after struggling from January, I'm talking about the Rockets and Warriors right here, from January and turning this team around when they get Jimmy Butler. He's already a
5
top
rings.
5 coach. Yeah, 5 rings. And then he has how many as a player? He has 3. No, and then one with San Antonio, that's 9 rings. He'd be up there almost Phil Jackson ring total wise. So I think he might be the greatest coach behind Phil Jackson. I know there's Greg Popovich there. But you could argue them on the same level right there. You could argue them on the same level. That's 5 rings. Greg Popovich won 6 rings. No, 5 rings. It was 5 rings, yeah. It'd be on
5
the same
rings.
level as Greg Popovich. So yeah.
He'd be third.
I know it hit the heartstrings there. But all right.
Well, Eric Spoelstra, I think for me would be third all time if he were to win a ring.
Over Steve Kerr?
I think the difficulty.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that is fair.
I think coaching wise, I understand players, but difficult. Hold on.
No, you're good.
Oh, if OG made that would have been a cool highlight. Cat was falling down, just threw it backwards, and OG shot it and missed. But no, difficulty wise, I think as a coach, what you can do in the hardest situations and kind of bring your team out of it, I think Eric Spoelstra would get kind of almost a nod over Steve Kerr.
Okay,
just off that one ring alone.
That does make sense. But all right.
Hey, we forgot a person, Rick Carlisle. What would this do for Rick Carlisle if he were to win another ring and never having I know he had Dirk on the other side, but the squad around him, but then also with this Indiana Pacers, no real superstar on his team and taking this team to win a championship and consistently winning basketball. Yeah. He's not a loser in basketball. He's consistently one of the most winningest coaches in the history of basketball.
I think he's on that level of a Doc Rivers, that kind of level.
He'd be higher.
I'm saying if they win, he'd be above them officially. Because I think he's on the same tier.
He'd be on that there's Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich right now. Then there's Steve Kerr, Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, he'd be that third, fourth tier.
Would Ty Lue move into this tier, or is it too early?
I think it's too early.
Do you think he'd be in that Rick Carlisle area still?
Yeah, I think both Ty Lue and Rick Carlisle will go into that third tier level. A good coach majority of their career, but
Chuck
then
Daly, Larry Brown. Larry Brown. Oh, he won a ring with Detroit. 2 rings with Detroit.
Yeah.
Chuck Daly up there with the Detroit Pistons also. I'm forgetting the freaking.
I know there's
names. Red Auerbach. No, that's the owner, right?
Red Auerbach.
The owner. Who was the coach of the Boston Celtics in the 80s?
Who is it?
It's Pat Riley. We're forgetting about Pat Riley too.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, we forgot about Pat Riley. Whoo.
Casey.
Yeah, Pat Riley was definitely one that we forgot right there as far as top 5 coaches.
It was Casey Jones.
Former Boston Celtic legend. Well,
Casey Jones, and then we forget about Pat Riley. Pat Riley's up there.
Pat Riley's definitely up there. But
Pat Riley, if they were to win another ring as a GM, would be astronomically insane.
That would be insane. He'd be, I don't know if he'd be Jerry West level. Would he be Jerry West level?
No, he would. He would be, bro. 27 years of consistently with the Miami Heat. Plus what he was able to do with the Showtime Lakers.
Jerry West managed or was a GM of the Showtime, and then he went to, where did he go to after?
Pat Riley was also the coach of that team too, so it's
he hired Pat Riley. So what does that got to say?
Yeah, you're right.
What does that got to say right there? But all right, I think these last two really right here is Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler.
Steph Curry.
He's already 5. He's already 5 in our book.
Steph Curry would move above Tim Duncan all time.
He'd reach some uncomfortable conversations.
He would be contending with the likes of Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the greatest player of all time.
He would. I'm not disagreeing with you.
And anyone that wants to think differently, greatest shooter to ever live. Think about that. One aspect of basketball is to put the ball in the hoop, and he's the best to ever shoot the ball. Anywhere on the court, I don't care where you pick. The best player to shoot the basketball in the history of histories is Stephen Curry. He would have 5 rings,
Two
Two
MVP.
MVPs, two
Yeah,
MVPs,
two
one
MVPs.
unanimous, multiple all first team all NBAs. Dude, most wins all time in a season. Dude, I think it
I think there's
changed the
just so
game of
much.
basketball.
Yeah.
He changed the game of basketball. He did not just come in. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird made basketball popular. Michael Jordan took it to a whole nother level, but he did not change the game of basketball.
Yeah.
LeBron James played like Magic Johnson.
But did not
Stephen
change the
Curry
game.
made everybody
Yeah.
play like Stephen Curry.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole different story. Like, Stephen Curry made big men turn into shooters. He made Karl Anthony Towns. I think let's just say that.
You have guys like Wemby and Chet Holmgren who are 7'3", who are shooting 30-foot
He made
threes.
floor spacing at an all-time level. He made defense harder because you had to worry about as soon as you crossed the half-court line, Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry would be arguably the greatest basketball player in the history of basketball.
Honestly, if Steph Curry wins this and he'd have to go on a historic run, you could argue to me, all right, well, he's better than LeBron because he beat him. You could argue that. Honestly, you could argue that.
Tim Duncan beat him twice.
Nah.
8-1.
You know what?
8-1.
You know what? No, I'm going back on that take right there. I'm going back on that.
8-1. Tim Duncan won 8-1.
I'm going back on that take right there. You know what?
Yeah, he would be the second best player in the history of basketball. No, because he wouldn't be able to pass LeBron. I think he'd be in that fourth range. I think the other guys.
You could argue him over Kareem.
Yeah, but Kareem's still the third all-time scorer, second all-time scorer in the history of basketball.
But you could say Steph Curry has almost unbreakable three-point.
Him and Kareem are debatable, but Jordan and LeBron are still the GOATs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Jimmy Butler. This last one right here before we get out of here.
Jimmy Butler, Hall of Famer.
You don't think he's a Hall of Famer as it is? 2 great runs to the finals.
Do you think him and Carmelo's careers are on par with each other?
I'll say this: it would literally be the opposite of Carmelo, where regular season doesn't matter, then playoffs he takes it to another level.
But Jimmy Butler's not the best regular season player. Carmelo Anthony was a great regular season player.
Like, it's literally like flipped opposite. Like Carmelo and Jimmy Butler, they pretty much like switch. Like Jimmy Butler damn near becomes Carmelo Anthony. You know what I mean? And Carmelo becomes like a Jimmy Butler type of player in the playoffs. If so,
Jimmy Butler would be a Hall of Famer.
He would. I
don't think it would do a lot for his all-time rank. I don't think it would put him into any conversations as best players in the NBA.
You know, he already is. Him as the best, like he'd be the trademark of a playoff riser. He already is, but he would be the.
I don't know if I want to say that.
What? What were you gonna say? I need to hear it now.
Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill. He'd be in that conversation.
Ooh, honestly,
Paul George.
Honestly,
Paul George.
You're not wrong. I kind of agree with that because T-Mac never got in the first round.
I think Paul George is better than Jimmy Butler, but with the ring, it'd be a little different.
It would boost him. It would boost him over those guys.
Chris Bosh. He'd be in that Chris Bosh combo. Where would he be at as the 2 guards all time? It'd be like, no, I don't know if I put that.
Yeah, no.
See, but
that's what I'm thinking in that
range. He would be in that range.
Yeah. I say playoff.
None of those guys have rings. None of those guys have rings, by the way. No, not one of them. Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, Paul George, Grant Hill. Not a single one has a ring.
Yeah,
he wouldn't be no Manu Ginobili, but he would be up there.
Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But all right, Josh. Before we get out of here, we're gonna just quickly pick the playoffs.
What's a conversation? Dude, this came to my mind. Real quick question, off topic. Whose career would you rather have?
Okay.
So I'm gonna give you Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter on this side, and I'm gonna give you Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams on this side.
Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams versus Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter. Jamal Crawford and Lou. So be one of the best 6-mans in the league, a prolific scorer, or be the best scorer on your team, and
Never win a ring.
You know what? Give me T-Mac. Give me T-Mac's career.
You still would be on that. You still be on that Vince Carter T-Mac area.
I'd be on the Vince Carter, T-Mac. If you would have said like somebody, I feel like because Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams, they never won.
All right.
I know where you're going.
Manu Ginobili.
Yeah, I know where you're going.
Career or Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter's career.
Give me Manu. Give me Manu's career.
Okay.
See, that's what I was waiting for.
You changed that conversation. You changed that conversation a little bit.
See, that's what I was waiting for. I'm like, none of those guys have won. So I'm like,
all right. Oh, dude, I don't know. Okay, so we're doing Jamal Crawford.
Okay.
Or Sean Livingston.
Oh, okay. Now we're talking.
That's a conversation right there.
Now we're talking. That midi game was insane from Sean Livingston.
And he has a ring.
He does have a ring. That 2017, 2018. Oh, okay.
Oh, no. You know who goes into this conversation too?
Who?
If we're talking rings, J.R. Smith goes into this conversation. Like,
Give me J.R. Smith.
Give me J.R. Smith.
Give me J.R. Smith, a character, and I still win a ring? Nah. This is settled with right here.
People underrate J.R. Smith, though. People underrate J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith, I think, he'd be like he's like a modern day Malik Beasley, like somebody who like shoots a volume worth of threes.
Yeah, but Malik Beasley ain't yamming it like that.
Yeah, no, for real. I don't think there's no comp for J.R. Smith.
Iman Shumpert. They're both just the same person.
No,
they're both best friends.
Not wrong.
They're just best friends.
Man, we're gonna have to talk about that whenever the playoff. I'll come up with a couple names. Names. No, but all right. Let's pick this right here. So Thunder versus Grizzlies right here. We're going with the Thunder. Wait, how do I pick this? Do I drag? 4 games.
Oh, you have to pick the team.
Okay. Then Nuggets, Clippers. You know what? Just for the sake of it, I'll go for the Clippers, all right? 6 or 7?
This is 7.
7. All right. Lakers, we both had them in 5, or I had them in 5, you had them in 6.
And we had them in 5. We had Warriors in 6.
Warriors in 6. Cavs.
We had Cavs in 5.
Pacers, Bucks. This is where we disagree.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, on shoot. Rock,
paper, scissors, shoot. Shit. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, hold on. You're not on my wavelength. Rock. How about just flip a coin? I'll give you tails.
Didn't you pick paper?
Tails. All right. Do the Bucks.
Bucks in 7. Knicks in 6. Celtics. You know what?
And 4.
We'll do 4. Thunder, Clippers. Let's talk now. Let's talk now. I'm going with OKC. Without seeing anything else, I'm going OKC in 7 games.
I'll give you OKC then.
Okay.
I'm going upset.
You'd go upset?
Yeah, but for the sake of us winning some money, we'll go with the Thunder.
Okay. Lakers, Warriors right here.
Lakers in 6.
Okay. Cavs, Bucks. Cleveland, right?
Cavs in 5.
Ooh, in 5? Okay. I'm going with
no, it's whatever. We're there. We'll do 6. Let's do 6. Cavs in 6.
Celtics in 5?
Celtics in 4. No, in 5. I'll give them. No, yeah, 4. I think they destroy the Knicks. I'm not going to lie to you.
You know what?
The Knicks play terrible against the Celtics. That's one of their worst teams that they play against.
That is very true. All right. Celtics, Cavs. I would say
Celtics in 6.
Yeah, I was thinking Celtics in 6 right here. All right. Lakers, Thunder right here.
7.
You say 7? I'm saying 6, but all right. What a surprise. We have the same matchup from exactly last year. Hopefully we don't jinx ourselves right here. Lakers and what? We know we're going to LA here. We're going
in 7 games.
Lakers in 7 games. All right. How many total points will be scored in game 1 of the finals?
About 20. About 6, 7.
6, 7. All right, so
let's go.
Each team, they score 100 points. That's 200.
152 points. No, I'm just kidding. No, 100. 32 points.
Total?
That's like 117, 115.
It would be 200. It would be like 200 and
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah,
wait,
you're
what?
right.
I'm like, the score's
You're
gonna
right.
be in the 60s.
It's like an old 70s basketball game, bro. What do you
Old
mean?
90s basketball.
No, but let's do
What? Okay, so
what
220
is that?
would
What
be
is
a
that?
10 apiece. Would be 110 apiece.
232. It'd be 232.
232. Okay. All right, it's submitted. I'll
Ooh,
create the
get up.
account. I'll create the account in a second. But all right, it's pretty much set in stone. If we had to pick a winner right now, we would pick the LA Lakers. But Josh, any last words before we get out of here?
No, I really don't have any words right now. It was a lot to take in.
Yeah. Well, I just barely remember this right now. I didn't even do the introduction, so let me go ahead and close this out before. So
Goodbye.
so find us on Twitter at FlyGarcia100. Find me on Twitter _Alfonso03. Find us on Twitch, Discord, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube under TSCSA or the so-called sports analyst. And whether you listen to this live or another day, we appreciate it. And make sure you share this to anybody that likes sports. We will see you guys soon with reactions to these games, game ones, games twos. You'll hear our opinion. You guys take care.